Welcome to the Volvo Ocean Race 2014-15 and to a momentous day in this edition of the race. It's the final day of racing, the final in-port battle and the end of a marathon that began back in Alicante 9 months and 39,000 miles ago. The fleet arrived here in Sweden's second largest city 5 days ago and have been resting, recovering and celebrating their lap of the planet as the Gothenburg crowds have thronged to the dockside to take a look at the deep ocean hardware and the new breed of sailing stars. It was the Turkish-American Alvimedica that arrived first, the team claiming their first leg win of the race in very tricky and light sailing conditions on the leg up from Lorient via the Hague pit stop. 23 minutes behind Alvimedica and back in fifth, Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing crossed the finish line crowned as winners in a victory that makes Ian Walker the first British skipper in 43 years to win the Volvo Ocean Race. And what a race it's been. Shipwrecks, dismastings and hard-fought victories where the intensity of the competition has been harder and more draining than anyone could have imagined. The crews have arrived here shattered. And today, the teams will take to the water for one last time as we're about to start the final in-port race. Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing have pulled clear ahead in the overall rankings, winning this year's Volvo Ocean Race, but two boats have finished on equal points after 9 legs, MAPFRE and Alvimedica. The tie is split on their import results, which makes today and the overall inshore scoreboard even more important. Again, Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing sit on top of the import series and must be favourites to do the double. Only a last place finish from the Emirati boat would give Team Brunel the slim possibility to take the overall inshore prize. But Alvimedica have the biggest decision to make, to fight for glory in the import series or to defend their 4th place in the overall scoreboard by holding back the Spanish MAPFRE. Both Xavi Fernandez and Charlie Enright know what's at stake in this final race.
You know, it all comes down to this race, which is a little insane, you know, in a river here in Gothenburg. But, you know, we have the luxury, you know, of a 2-point advantage at this stage. And, you know, we also kind of want to get on the podium here for the import series.
We have to think on attacking because we have to put one boat in between us and Alvimedica. Pretty much. It's some more mathematics to do, but pretty much if we put one boat in between, it should be fine.
If there's something we can do, you know, to combat whatever those guys throw at us, we're certainly ready to do that. They've
proven that they're good in these inshore races as well, so it's gonna be hard.
I think defense is difficult. You know, defense is more of a passive word, you know, and if we end up both sailing our own races, maybe defense is an option. But if we get attacked, we will attack back.
It's not going to be just us attacking them. I'm sure they will be attacking as well and trying to do a good start, trying to make us have a better start. So I think the pre-start is going to be the biggest moment where we will fight one to each other.
Oh, the scoring is incredibly tight. I mean, us, Brunel, MAPFRE, Dongfeng, SCA are all within points of each other. So, you know, depending on how it finishes, you know, the scores could be completely flipped on their head. So everybody's a factor.
Charlie Enright and Xavi Fernandez set to lock horns out on the water today. 2 of 6 teams fighting it out for the inshore podium. Well, Richard, the score's so tight, we could see some major changes at the end of racing today.
Well, absolutely. Like you said, we've got 2 teams that are fighting it out today for an overall offshore position change. Then we've got Abu Dhabi looking for the double. They're hoping to take both the offshore and the inshore series. We've got Team SCA that would love to go for 3 victories. And we've got everybody else as a yacht race out there today with no offshore start tomorrow. So normally very high tariff on a day like today, but with nothing going on tomorrow, they're going to lay it all on the table.
You see, I think you've said it there. 40,000 miles, they've already completed 1 lap of the planet. They know that today is the final day. We could see some aggressive sailing.
Oh yeah, well these boats are sort of triangular shaped for a reason, so you can put it in there, and I'm sure they're going to do it. So I'm sure we're going to see some fantastic stuff out there on the racetrack today.
Well, before the teams take to the water, let's take a look back at leg 9, the final leg in this year's Volvo Ocean Race.
I think we've got about 5 knots of tide against us here.
like 6 knots of tide and not very much wind, and it took us 3 attempts to actually make it through.
Been struggling a bit at these wider angles against the fleet, so we got everyone in front of us.
It might be the last opportunity we all sail together as a team, so we've just got to enjoy the moment.
We can see the cliffs of Dover. We know that 3 boats are up there on the other side of the TSS.
We're lucky we'll get there tonight, and I don't know where the rest of the boats are, but they're on the other side. They're on the French side.
It's unbelievable. My expectation was totally different, and I mean it's full of people. It's probably one of the best stopover from that side, and we stop here only for 24 hours.
So we're still truckloads of boats, and we've just got to try ignore them and focus on the yacht racing. As I say, we're getting a little bit down to the wire, but we've still got over 300 miles to go, and I think we're just enjoying it as much as we can as a group.
It's going to be very, very strange coming into Gothenburg and knowing that that's the end of the road. The next 24 hours might be the last time we all sail together as a group.
We sit in here knowing we've got 100 miles left before we're Volvo race winners is pretty special, you know.
I'm getting close to Denmark, how we are at Denmark, and run out of wind.
The downtown setting for the Gothenburg race village was bursting with friends and family and local supporters as the sailors prepared for the final dockout of the 2014-15 Volvo Ocean Race. Footballer Freddie Ljungberg joined Ocean Race winner Ian Walker as the British skipper led the Abu Dhabi racing team towards their victory lap. MAPFRE and Team SCA have brought royalty on board for the final race good fortune. The former King of Spain, Juan Carlos, is a sailor himself and knows the Spanish team well. While over on SCA, the boat's godmother, Victoria, the Crown Princess of Sweden, was on board to perform her official duties. For Vestas Wind, today's race is something to enjoy, while Brunel and Dongfeng will be racing for the inshore podium. But the sailors on board Alvimedica and MAPFRE left the dock with 4th place overall to play for. Well, the racing about to get underway. A short postponement as the racing area is cleared for this final race in this edition of the Volvo Ocean Race. And out on the water, we have Volvo Ocean Race CEO Knut Frostat. Knut, a very close inshore series to be decided today, and also 4th place in the overall rankings. We look set for some great action.
I think it's going to be a lot of great action out there, and I think even though we have very light conditions, I'm very pleased with the wind direction because we have a very narrow corridor here to make an import race with all the rocks and islands and land, but we have an enormous amount of spectators. I mean, look around, it's enormous amount of boats, people on shore, everywhere. It's great. So, well, even though the 2 boats who are racing for 4th place will have a battle, I'm pretty confident that every single boat out there is going to do a good job today because no one wants to look bad in front of anyone. And there's teams that have things to prove still, you know, like Vestas. They want to do a nice end to their story. There's, I'm sure Abu Dhabi wants to show off as well and make sure they race hard. So I don't think anyone is going to take light on it.
And Knut, we understand we are under postponement at the moment. We were a little nervous about the breeze being a bit light, but that's not the reason for the postponement, is it? What can you tell us? What are we waiting for at the moment?
No, I just saw from the race management that they had some problems with some of the spectator boats being too far into the race area. So they're now moving these spectator boats out a bit. And as soon as that is cleared, they feel they can get going. They're just dropping some buoys in the water now to make sure that it's very, very clear around the starting area, that you can't get too close. And the current plan I've heard from Bill O'Hara is to have the start going at 1:10 So hopefully that will happen.
Well, thanks, Knut. And also out on the water, we have Jenny Tulloch, host of the Inside Track, and she's been following the sailors all the way around the world. And as I can see you there, Jenny, you've got MAPFRE just behind you, and obviously a big day for them. Can you have any guess? Are they feeling nervous at this point?
You know, a huge day for them. They've also got His Majesty the King of Spain on board. So, of course, they're nervous. They want to perform with the King on the boat. But I think they've got to keep it in perspective. They've got to put one boat between them and Alvimedica to even be able to tie. In the Import Series, they'd win that tiebreak and they'd win the overall tiebreak. So it's a bit about trying to win the race, but also making sure, with that in mind, they can at least get a boat between them and Alvimedica. So a huge day for Iker Martinez and the MAPFRE team.
And it was, from what you've seen, because you've been following this race since it started back in October, you've got to know these sailors very well, having live calls to them on the satellite phones as they've been rounding Cape Horn and all sorts of extreme places across the globe. From what you've seen, do you think that Alvimedica will be able to stay calm with this amount of pressure, or do you think today might be the day for some mistakes?
Well, I spoke with Will Oxley earlier, and he sounded quite calm, and he said, you know, I actually don't even know what our plan is yet. Charlie's told us he'll brief us on the boat. Charlie had been saying they just want to win this race, and the rest is up to the guys behind them. For them, it's a bit easy. They try to win in the beginning, and then they start to make decisions later on based on where MAPFRE is. They just have to stay ahead of or close to MAPFRE, so could be all right for Charlie Enright, but keep in mind, he's racing against a double Olympic medalist, Iker Martinez, so it is going to be a lot of pressure for Alvimedica as well.
Well, thanks, Jenny. And while we're waiting for the start countdown to get underway, let's have a little bit of a look at the weather out on the course. We were a little worried, quite light winds forecast, but actually the breeze has started to build now. We've got 4 knots over the course, good enough breeze for racing, but as Knut was saying, quite a narrow course area.
Yeah, very narrow course area, and the rocks in Sweden are very hard, so they're not to be messed with. It's a minefield out there. There's 20,000 rocks between here and Norway, so there's no shortage of them. There's a good number of them this harbour, so we'll see a lot of jibing, a lot of manoeuvres. Bit of current going up and down the course as well, because there's actually, as you look at this picture on your screen now, it's coming towards you. There's the rivers, all the water flowing out. So sealing downwind, it'll be a little bit slower than going upwind, and there'll be a lot of tight manoeuvring and a lot of calls for water. Busy day for the navigators.
Well, we understand that the start is scheduled for 1:10 local time. That's in about 12 minutes. So only in a few minutes we'll see the warning signal start to be sent up by the race control. So let's take a few moments to have a look at the course today that we're going to be watching this final race played out on. There we are, right in the heart of Gothenburg, just outside the river and in the archipelago. And that brings it back to what you were saying before, a lot of rocks for these sailors to navigate from the start line, heading upwind to the first gate and then back down to the starting area. And each time these boats have to sail through the archipelago, on your screen you're seeing the rocks above the surface, but there's some lurking underneath.
Yeah, there's plenty over on the right hand side of your screen. There's a few islands there that there's a lot lurking underneath, and also it'll form a natural gate, so it'll be squeezing the fleet together in the middle of the course.
And after finishing the official import race, they're then going to carry on sailing up the river right up towards the race village and finish a nice parade of sail. So a great opportunity for everybody to get close to the boats and watch all the action coming right into the spectator fleet. It's going to be a fantastic day of action, and of course this brings to a close a very, very tough, very dramatic Volvo Ocean Race, and also an incredibly tight series as well. The import series here, we have 6 teams chasing the podium.
I mean, what an amazing position for the race to be in. We've got two boats out there today that have sailed 40,000 miles around the world, and their position's going to come out of saying the result of the race today. It's unbelievable, it's incomprehensible to think that it would come down to this, but it has.
And a huge moment for Alvimedica and MAPFRE, because when they come off this start line here, they have to make that decision. Well, what's potentially can I get out of this? Could Charlie Enright, he wants to be finishing on the podium for the Import Series, but of course he wants to also hold on to that 4th overall, so he's going to have to make a very snap decision. What do you think he's going to be able to do?
Well, I think he's going to have to make those decisions, standing there as they come about, because they're going to have to get boats between them. And of course, for all the other boats out there, we've got Abu Dhabi, they're looking for the double. Team SCA on 2 import wins, they'd love to go for a 3rd one. Of course, hometown, you saw the Magenta Island out there before. There's no shortage of supporters in town. Vestas is looking for a strong finish, so it's going to be fantastic. And I think with no racing tomorrow, so we all forget that normally after this everyone starts an offshore leg. With nothing on tomorrow, they're absolutely going to go for it today. Very nervous day for the shore teams. I think they'll be putting it in there.
Well, I was speaking to Xabi Fernandez earlier, and he was saying that it would all come down to this start. That was basically their only opportunity to get the boats between them and MAPFRE. So we are now into the countdown for the start. At the top of your screen, you can see 8 minutes just about to come onto the clock. And in these next few moments, this is when we'll get to see what MAPFRE's plan is. Are they going to be able to control Alvimedica and try and force them into a bad start, or are they just going to have to see which way the fleet runs down? Well, Jenny, you're on the course at the moment. You're going to keep an eye on this match race for us here. MAPFRE, they don't seem too far away from Alvimedica at the moment. Do you expect them to dial in towards them?
I don't actually expect to see any match racing maneuvers at the start. I think the teams want to get off cleanly, want to make sure they're headed towards the right side of the course, which for me, I think is actually the left side of the course at this moment with the best breeze. And then they'll start to assess their options as they head up.
Okay, well, that's a really good point about the breeze that we're expecting on the course here, because it is quite light winds, but it is coming in from the more open water, and which side of this course is going to pay. And Knut, from where you are on the course, I'm just wondering, which side do you think the best breeze is on? Because we've got the obstacle with the shallow rocks, but of course, finding your way through the light pressure, that's going to be a big factor today.
Yeah, and the pressure is just filling in. We're having a little bit more wind than we had 5 minutes ago, so this is looking positive. I'm joined here with Rasmus Kostner, one of the best Danish sailors, match racing sailor, Extreme 40 sailor, and even an import racer in previous Volvo Ocean Race. Rasmus, what do you think, left or right?
Oh, it's a tough call, Knut. The pressure just picked up a little bit. We saw it going left, so if it stays left, then I think we'll see some port tackers coming across, but yeah, at the moment I'm on the left-hand side of the race course.
You're on the left-hand side of the race course, and we even think that it could be some port starts here, some port tack starts. The challenge is that you don't want to tack too early after the committee boat, because it's very close to land and spectator boats. But port tack starts at the pin end, if you can manage to get clear, would be pretty nice, wouldn't it?
It's a very compact race course, so there's going to be a lot of positioning between the boats here. You can also manage to do a starboard start down at the pin, but you're sailing straight into the boundary there, so it's going to be super close with the boats here. It's amazing they're racing in such a compact race course.
Well, Richard, port tack starts. That's the kind of thing you only see when you don't have another offshore leg to do.
Yeah, we're putting it in there. It'll be interesting to see. They'll be wanting to control the left. I hope there's not too much port tack starts going on, but it'll be a big fight. I think what we will see is a lot of position changes as they work their way up. It's going to be like a bottleneck halfway up the racetrack there due to navigation. I think the previous editions of the race, we used to have a gate halfway up the beat, and that used to push us together. So effectively what will happen here is the boats will come up on their lay lines or get to the edges of the course very, very quickly. Interesting, MAPFRE here, they're just in this shot here, you can actually literally touch this wall and tack, so they're going over there to have a look at just how close they can go and what's happening to the breeze on this side. So it will be very interesting. There'll be a lot of place changing, I think, going on. All the boats on code zeros, which is interesting to see, so it's obviously pretty light out there. A lot of them don't even have the J2s hanked on at the moment. Maybe they're just hanked on, but obviously they're committing to the code zeros. It'll be interesting to see if they stay with that sail. So what we saw when they were coming down, when there was some gull winging going on. People went, what's that? Well, actually, it was so expensive to jibe that they were putting the main out one side and the spinnaker out the other and going dead downwind. So I think we might see some very interesting manoeuvres out there today.
Well, with something like that, is that a manoeuvre that you've practiced with Team SCA?
No, but it can be done. It's something that you do see it here a little bit, because the breeze does tend to funnel down between the islands here, and it tends to get bent a lot as it comes down through this harbour. So it will, but I think the cleanest breeze generally is on the left, so there'll be a lot of fighting going on to get over and protect the left-hand side.
Well, it's looking very light out on the race course at the moment. We have enough breeze to race in, but this is big pressure for the tacticians.
Yeah, very big pressure. The key to this start is going to be starting in clear air and having some boat speed. So throughout these manoeuvres, we've got 3 and 4 minutes to go. They're going to be manoeuvring now into the position where they start leading their start game plan from right now. So you can see the guys canting the boat around, trying to get the mainsail set. It's all about boat speed from here. You can't afford to lose boat speed for a second. So you've got to get off the line with good speed and a nice lane.
Well, there's the virtual eye view of the race course. The start tucked in quite close to that dock wall and then out into a bit more open space before then being jammed back in before you get to that top gate. So the boats have a little bit of room here at the start line, enough space for a bit of tactical manoeuvring, but as we get close to that 3-minute marker, the breeze still light, and every manoeuvre in those final few moments of the start, that costs you your speed. You're going to want to keep those down to a minimum.
Yeah, very costly. I mean, I'd say you've got about 1:30 to go here before we'll see the boat starting to tack over and getting close to their final approaches, because you'll want to be completed on that tack and building speed with 1 minute to go towards the start line.
Well, we've talked a lot about Alvimedica and MAPFRE potentially going to be quite aggressive here, but Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing leading the inshore series, and they need to finish last, with Team Brunel finishing first to lose it. So I'm guessing we're going to see some quite conservative sailing from Ian Walker. Nothing too gutsy, just middle of the pack. Yeah. And Canute, we're in the final few moments before this start. The breeze still quite light?
Well, it's light, but it's definitely more wind now than what we had half an hour ago. So I'm optimistic. This looks really good. Yeah, and it's interesting the start tactics here. You know, we have the whole fleet lining up on port tack here, but they're all in a place that they're not going to get to the pin mark. I mean, only SCA has the chance to actually work themselves, maybe with Vestas, to the pin mark here, and the others are going to end up very close to the committee boat with only 2 minutes and 10 left to the start.
Well, Jenny, I understand that you're right behind Alvimedica on this final run-in. Are they look set for a good approach?
They do look set for a good approach. I do think Canute might be right about seeing a port tack start. The breeze is about 15 degrees left of where the course is actually set up for. All the boats now fully prepared, sails out, except for Team SCA. They're going to unfurl their masthead code 0 soon, but you can see Alberto Bozan driving on board Team Alvimedica. Charlie will be calling tactics. It leaves him free to make more decisions than actually focus on boat speed, so that's good.
Well, any sign from any engagement at the moment between MAPFRE and Alvimedica, Jenny?
Nothing so far. We have Alvimedica just going behind the race committee boat, MAPFRE almost on the other side of the starting line. So like we said, I don't think we'll see match racing maneuvers at this start. I think they'll start to think about that once they get further up the race course and further into this race.
Well, the boat's now starting to run into the start line. We're approaching the final minute into the start. You can see the committee boat, the top left-hand side of your screen, flying that orange flag, one end of the start line, and then the white starting pin is the other end. MAPFRE now making their last few moves. They look set there, a good bit of room. Team SCA, the bottom of your screen, lining up on port tack, but at the moment, not a lot of room in there. They're going to have to come underneath the rest. MAPFRE from this position really want that pin end, don't they?
Yeah, they're looking very strong there in the middle, and what will be interesting to see how SCA manage this. They probably have to go round behind Brunel, but they could end up coming off on port tack and be one of the first boats to tack, so it could be a strong move.
Well, this looks like really strong port bias on this start line. MAPFRE with that code 0, they're going to find it very difficult to cross that start on starboard there, expecting all the teams to tack over onto port tack when they've got some clear space. There goes Team SCA behind MAPFRE, crossing the bow of Team Brunel. One more cross as well, looking very good there.
Yeah, it's a great start from the girls. Through, just about to go.
Well, the final race here of the Volvo Ocean Race, it all comes down to this import battle for MAPFRE and Alvimedica. Who is going to take the last podium positions in the Import Series comes down to Gothenburg and this small river. A great start for Vestas and a superb start for Team SEA, weaving their way through the fleet.
Yeah, fantastic start. Now, look at a bit of trouble here. You've got Alvimedica attacking. They're going to struggle to get round through the eye of the wind there. MAPFRE very slow too, getting held up by Dongfeng. This is plenty of action here.
Well, you could see how strong that start line was in port bias. Could not cross this start line on starboard tack. Had to come over. SEA saw it. Team Vestas Wind, look at the speed there. They got a great run in.
Oh, they got a fantastic start. And there's obviously through that start period been quite a big left-hand shift because these boats are almost laying straight up the course. So what we'll see with this is very long port tacks and short starboards as they work their way up. So as you're stacked up the left-hand side of the racetrack, it's going to be very important. Great start by Nicholson.
Well, Chris Nicholson on board Team Vestas Wind, early into the lead. Team SEA looking quite good, but a little bit lighter breeze down that side of the course. MAPFRE and Dongfeng neck and neck at the moment, the battle for third. Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing coming off the line behind, but Team Brunel with them as well. So at the moment, no real fear for Ian Walker. It almost looks like it could be laying there, but look at the difference in track between Team SEA and Vestas. Huge breeze difference there. Team SEA having to make a big bear away on that right-hand side. It's a drag race to this first mark starting to develop.
Yeah, it certainly is. And there's an island just up on the guy's bow, so that'll be the next sort of thing that forces the fleet to tack. I see Team SEA have just tacked there, so it's going to be expensive for them to come out of that side. They're going to have to take most of these boat sterns as they come out there, but they are the right-of-way boat.
Well, Canoe, a very brave start for Chris Nicholson and Team Vestas.
Absolutely, but I mean it was a very clear sort of port start scenario here, and obviously the king with any start is to have speed, and that's where SEA was struggling. They didn't have speed in the start, and Chris Nicholson and Vestas Wind had a fantastic start there with a lot of power, a lot of speed going into the start. So it's very interesting. The wind looked like there was a bit of a big left shift coming, but then it sort of flicked back again. Now we have a right shift, and all the boats we're seeing almost a 15-20 degree shift to the right. So I think Vestas will have to tack there for the famous tall ship Gothenburg. That is right in the middle of its course, and the Vestas is rolling into the tack as I speak.
So some very shifty winds out on the course. And Jenny, I understand you're with Alvimedica. First part of this race, maybe not going their way.
You know, they did not have a great start. They're at the wrong end of the line, tacking early and behind Team SEA in bad air. But I think we've gotten a little bit of a right shift here. Alvimedica and Vestas both heading. Vestas took it and tacked off. Alvimedica, I think, digging in for a bit more. They're the only person left now on port tack. The entire rest of the fleet, aside from Brunel, on starboard. So it could be interesting. If it goes further right, it could be good for these guys, but it looks like they're setting up to tack now.
Well, we're seeing some huge changes here with this breeze. Only a few boat lengths apart, and suddenly these boats are on completely different tacks. And look at that on the virtual eye. You can see them tacking over on a right-hand shift, and just as they tack, it looks like it goes back left.
Yeah, it's a big shift there. Very hard to pick. Of course, when it swings around this much, you can't tack on every single shift. You've got to fight your way through it because these tacks are so expensive out there. So you've got to keep those down to a minimum and keep cool and calm as the breeze shifts around. It's a very difficult time for tacticians.
And a very narrow channel for the sailors here. It's probably its widest point at the moment, and as we get into that top gate, it's going to squeeze them in more. So you're really going to have to be just on the right side of those breezes that come in.
Yes, and the other thing is we do have current coming from the bottom of the screen to the top of the screen, so it's actually pushing the boats up the screen there. So it's interesting to see how this is playing out. You see Team SEA tacking back. You know, they were in a solid second not so long ago, so very, very shifty, very difficult positions to pick. I do see the windmill spinning well in the background though, so that's a sign that the breeze will steady down. And that's telling me there's quite a bit of right-hand shift coming, just knowing what I know about this harbour.
Well, Chris Nicholson on board Team Vestas Wind doing a great job at the moment, sitting on top of the fleet. Those first few shifts just allowed him to get himself into the middle of the course. Now he's controlling the Chinese boat Dongfeng and sailing over to that left-hand side with MAPFRE. Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing on that left-hand side. They've sailed right up to the limit of this course and now tacking over, and they look reasonably clear over there. They've got a bit of space, and Team Brunel, they've gone all the way to the right-hand side, so these two boats splitting.
Yeah, interesting how it pans out. Let's see how shifty it is, because there was one windmill there that was spinning and the rest of them are completely parked, so it's super shifty.
Well, there's the virtual eye that you can see. Team Brunel on the right-hand side, Team SEA, and then Abu Dhabi. Now look at Alvimedica accelerating on the right-hand side. They're looking very nicely over there. Jenny, a bit of fresh breeze for the American team?
There it is. Definitely. The middle of the course had a hole. Dongfang pretty much sat there. MAPFRE had to sail through it. And the breeze is filling straight down the river, essentially right onto the American-Turkish team, Alvimedica. Huge relief probably for the boys on board to actually get this puff and to be able to carry it all the way across the course right now. But it looks like MAPFRE and Abu Dhabi getting a little bit more pressure now as well. Both boats accelerating out on the left.
Well, Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing have certainly come back into this race. They're now neck and neck with MAPFRE and Team Vestas coming over on the left-hand side. Canute, we're seeing some amazing pictures here. The spectator fleet really packed on that left-hand side.
Well, it's more like a wall, I would say. It's a wall of spectator boats. But I was just discussing with Rasmus. Rasmus, you see some breeze coming from the left side, right?
Yeah, we see the left is strong at the moment, and you see the winning boats coming from out here as well. Alvimedica just tacking here, trying to go left.
Looking at all the boats that are sort of with the orange flags up the racetrack to keep the spectators behind. The orange flags are just turning to the left a bit, so it looks like there is a left shift here. The new breeze is filling in from the left side, so we believe in where MAPFRE and Vestas is.
Well, Team Vestas at the moment, they've done a very nice job of keeping the rest of the fleet behind them, quite safe tactically, and it's a bit of a narrow course, but still shifty breeze. That's impressive sailing.
It's very shifty. He's playing the percentages here. Obviously favouring the left-hand side, and he's just working his way up there, coming back in and covering those boats, controlling the boats in the left. But you see as they're coming away there, the different tracks that are out there. You've got MAPFRE, they're getting lifted here. Vestas are getting headed as they fall down, but it could be a pressure thing as well. And Alvimedica, they're 20 degrees lower than MAPFRE, so it's a tough old day. And actually, this could be a pressure thing we're seeing here as well. So see the boats are really starting to slow down. You look further up the racetrack, it's very glassy.
Well, the power really seems to be swinging from the left-hand side to the right, back to the left. Very difficult for the tacticians. And Jenny, we were just watching Alvimedica there. They're on a very low track at the moment.
A lot of this, I think, as Richard just said, is breeze dependent. They just don't have a lot of wind right now, so they're pushing hard. They never really accelerated out of the last tack. They tried to tack underneath the fleet when the breeze filled on the left, and the breeze just never came down to them. And now, unfortunately, they're tacking back again. So a loss here, but luckily, it looks like it's dying all the way across the course here. Perhaps the only boat with breeze left is MAPFRE on the far left up top. They might even pass Vestas all the way into the lead at this point.
Well, Jenny, it's interesting that you say that, because at the moment our computer is saying that MAPFRE have taken the lead. Now, of course, they're still on that left-hand side. They still have to come back and cross the rest of the fleet. But the Spanish team, MAPFRE, at the moment, leading for this early part of the race. But Richard, so difficult to call. The breeze swings back to the other side, and suddenly the pack is shuffled again.
Absolutely, it's a pressure thing out there mostly at the moment. I think it's as a part of the shifts, because as the wind dies, you tend to have to chase your apparent wind speeds down or your wind angles, and then they come back up again. I think we'll see several more changes before we get to the top arc. But MAPFRE looking strong, and it seems to be pressure most consistently coming from the left.
Well, look at the track here of the Spanish boat MAPFRE, the white trail that you can see on that left-hand side. It stayed relatively consistently pointing at that top mark. You compare that with Team Vestas, the blue trail. Look how much they've had to bear away there. So something going well for the Spanish team.
They're also minimising their tacks. They've got out on one side, and they're sailing through the pressure, keeping it cool and calm, and they're not panicking and tacking, because these manoeuvres, I can't tell you how expensive they are in these conditions. It takes 5 minutes to get the boat going again.
And of course, this is the import race. It is the Volvo Ocean Race. It is about offshore sailing primarily, but a lot at stake for this race today. Iker Martinez disappointed not to be finishing on the overall podium, and now he has the potential to close up to 4th in the overall rankings. He will be fighting hard.
I've been fighting extremely hard. That's a very, they'll be very disappointed not to have been up on the podium, and they'll be doing everything they can to take that 4th spot.
Well, Canute, we're seeing these shifts start to bring other boats back into play, and it looks like MAPFRE are looking quite comfortable on the left now.
I think they're looking very strong. I think it's not so much the shift, it's the fact that the breeze is coming in from the left side. So We are just on the weather side of MAPFRE, and there is wind here. There's a little bit of some patches. So I think what Iker Martinez was doing, he was actually sailing as high as he possibly could to stay on that left side, to stay as close to the new wind that's coming as possible. And while Chris Nicholson chose to sort of fill his code 0 and sail more of an optimal angle, but he sailed out of the breeze. So you get on the right side of the race course, you get to less pressure. All the new good stuff is coming from the left side, and I think that's where what Iker has scored high on. And I saw Ian Walker looking at him and just going, oops, there's breeze on the left side, and Abu Dhabi made that short tack in again on the left side just to get closer to that wind. Everything looking forward as well. When you look at those spectator control boats with the big orange flags, it all points towards the wind coming from the left. So even though there's very little wind on the surface, if there's anything new coming, it seems to be coming from the left side.
Well, Knut, I know you and Rasmus did call that left-hand side. Do you think it's going to play on that left-hand side all day?
Well, the forecast was quite a left direction, but I think the interesting thing is, I mean, look at MAPFRE now. MAPFRE know they're sailing slowly out of the pressure. So the question is, how long do you wait before you actually tack and get out into the pressure again? And if they go too far, they're going to make a tack in very light wind, very slow, lose a lot in the maneuver, and then work themselves back out on the left side. So it's kind of a difficult judgment. What do you think? Is the wind dropping here, Rasmus?
I don't know. I still think the patches here. It's all about connecting the wind puffs on the water, and I would be nervous if I was MAPFRE heading that direction. I think Vestas is picking up some pace here on the left-hand side of the course, and just remember MAPFRE, they need to do 2 tacks, and Vestas might be close to laying the top gate here from where they're attacking now.
And one extra tack is a disaster. I can see a Vestas wind turbine actually starting to spin further north. So that's a good sign. That means that there could be some more wind coming.
Well, we're seeing MAPFRE now tacking over to that left-hand pressure that Knut was talking about. Looked like a good tack, but big loss of speed in the light winds.
Oh, they'll be down to almost 1.5 to 2 knots here, and they've got to build the speed. You can see the sails are barely filling, and they're still actually bearing away onto a course where they can build speed. So it's a very expensive manoeuvre. It'll take them another 1.5 minutes to get up to speed.
And if people are unfamiliar with these boats, they're seeing them heel over, but of course that's the keel generating that heel, not the breeze.
Exactly. You can cant the keels 40 degrees either way, and what happens when it's light like this, you cant it to leeward to try and heel the boat over to reduce the wetted surface area, but it'll also help set the sails, and it gives you a little bit of feel on the helm. It gives you something to work with in these light conditions, otherwise it's very dead on the helm.
And how much do you use the keel in these light breezes here? For every little puff that comes in, how much adjustment is there?
You'll be using the keel the whole time. You'll be using this much more than you do in heavy airs. There's a bit of a cross coming up here.
Yeah, Team Vestas wind coming in from the right-hand side of your picture. MAPFRE with that slow tack, yet to find the speed. And you can see the bowman going forward here on Team Vestas, trying to call to see whether they can clear. And behind them, Brunel and Team SCA. Brunel on port, having to put the bow down, having to concede. Almost a chance to build a bit of speed with that bear away. But Team Vestas does look like they're crossing here.
Yes, they do, and they've got breeze too. There's been quite a shift there as we've been speaking through that last 30 seconds. There's been a left-hand pressure come through. We can see Vestas heeling over for real, and you see MAPFRE have been bent down, and they're still trying to get up to speed, and they're going to have to do a low-speed tack, which is super expensive. Dongfeng tacking over behind them. They're all starting to stack up on this left-hand side of the racetrack.
They're really pushing it hard over to the left-hand side. With that previous shot, you could see the rocks just peeking out from the water, the spectator fleet starting to come in. We're really hugging that left-hand side, can't we? And Jenny, I understand you're right alongside Alvimedica. Are they looking like they're finding a bit of pressure on that right-hand side?
No, I think this is unfortunately the wrong spot to be. I think Alvimedica is going to drop down to last here. Even Brunel and SCA have gone all the way out to the left, almost into the spectator boats, and have come back and crossed. Right now, the teams are essentially sailing so far left, they're all overstanding the top mark, but that is the only place where there's wind on this race course. You might even sail into the spectator fleet just to try to get enough wind to get up the track right now.
Well, a very delicate situation for the tacticians. And I'm reminded, Richard, when we were watching the arrivals coming in here, it was very patchy. And in fact, MAPFRE, maybe 2 or 3 boat lengths away from Dongfeng, suddenly caught a massive gust and went straight over the top of them. So when we're talking about positioning yourself on the perfect side for the perfect breeze, it comes down to meters.
Oh, very much so, and luck. Sometimes you're better to be lucky than you are good, and today's just one of those days where if a little bit of puff of wind develops and you get it, so all you can really do is connect the dots between the puffs and consistently try and position yourself between your opposition and the next mark. Investors have been doing that tidy, and they're all pushed up on the barrier on the left-hand side of the racetrack at the moment. So as the boats all stack up there, the boats behind will struggle in the dirty air of these boats, which is amplified in light airs.
Well, Vestas has done a fantastic job. Chris Nicholson helming his boat back into the lead, taking it back from the Spanish boat MAPFRE, who really have been left quite far behind here. That double tack that they had to put in, the breeze was down, and now their speed really starting to suffer. Behind them, Team Brunel coming back into the fight, and also Team SCA. We did see Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing chasing for third place, but as every little shift rolls down this course, you start moving down the pack, and the spectator fleet on that left-hand side being a bit of a natural limit to the boats, but everyone hugging right up to that wall, really wanting to push as far into that breeze as possible.
They're really starting to see the boats stack up there now on the left-hand side. They're all going to come up and tack over. I did notice that Vestas have headed down again. Now, it'd be interesting. It doesn't look like they're laying the top mark, so obviously a right-hand shift coming through the racecourse there at the moment. Look at the difference between the two tracks here, between MAPFRE coming up to almost hit these rocks, and Vestas they're hard on the wind and doing 3 knots, so they're actually probably sailing out of the breeze there is what it's telling us. And MAPFRE are in good pressure, so anything can happen here. A lot of golf left in this one.
And this is where you really start to sail right on the limit. I mean, we're not talking about big breeze, we're not talking about structural limit or sailing on the edge. What we're talking about is pushing the depth as far as you can, with that extreme left starting to play and rocks waiting for you just under the surface. You start to take a few risks.
Yes, you do, and the interesting thing about navigating around here, if you're a local, you can actually tell from how the rocks look as to how close you can go to them, because this was all formed by glaciers millions of years ago. And with some of the rocks, if you're on the right side of them, you can literally sail up and brush your hand down the side and you won't hit the bottom. But if you're on the other side of it, it's quite shallow. They tend to go bang. So, and I've hit a few in this harbour. They're very, very hard, I can tell you.
Well, we can see MAPFRE now, and also Team Brunel and SCA all pushing quite hard onto that left-hand side. And from where I'm judging where the boats are with the charts in front of me, I think they're pushing this one right up to the edge here. The rock's just waiting to strike the keel of these boats, and we've seen sailors make mistakes on ocean legs, but also as we've been sailing in the river, the boat you could just see on that shot with the orange flag as we watch Alvimedica ducking right behind Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing, that is signalling a rock on the course. That's how close these sailors are to dangers hidden just under the surface.
Oh, they'll be sailing to within metres of these rocks, about 1 or 2 metres, and they'll tack over because they'll be looking for every advantage you can get.
And everybody now, as we can see, Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing also going to that left-hand side. Everybody wanting the left-hand side of this course, and everybody pushing themselves quite far into the rocky, risky areas of this racetrack. We're still about 2/3 of lap 1 completed, and there's no let-up in sight for the tacticians. Very challenging. Team Brunel and Team SCA closing up right behind MAPFRE. And at what point do you start to get a little nervous and start to bug out? There's something going on here. MAPFRE desperately want to hold it high. They're not bearing away there.
No, they want to push Brunel. They know Brunel can't go any further to weather, so they want to push them up on that side of the racetrack so that they can give them their bad air and try and extend their position as they go across. It's quite a tricky thing to do, though, because you can't afford to stop the boat. So you can see the front of the sails just flapping there, so really sailing off the back edge, and you can just see Brunel is now starting to do the same thing, trying to match them. So Capey's obviously said, no, we can go up in here, bow, and they'll try and roll over the top of them, which is, it can be done. It's very tricky stuff here.
Well, it looks like Iker Martinez has just pushed the bow of MAPFRE a little too high, lost a bit of speed, and now Team Brunel starting to slowly roll over the top if they can just keep that momentum. Things going Bauer Becking's way as Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing currently sitting at the back of the fleet, but shifty winds to come. Everything can change at the moment. Team Vestas still lead. MAPFRE chasing them back down in second place if they can just hold off the Dutch charge.
Very, very nice move there by Bauer. He's managed to get himself up off the hip, and he could well roll over MAPFRE here. It's a bit of what we call in the industry sort of private breeze. He's got his own puff. You know, they're barely 3 boat lengths away, but it's something different. That's just how tricky it is there. It's really, we're on the limits of not having enough wind here.
Well, Canute, we're seeing Team Vestas Wind breaking clear of the pack, but the majority of boats really pushing that left-hand side of the course extremely hard.
Absolutely, I think it's a different style of sailing. I was a bit surprised to watch Chris Nicholson, because what you see Ike Martinez is doing is that as soon as the wind dies, he just keeps the course. While Chris Nicholson was much more trying to follow the apparent wind, as we call it, because when the wind dies, the wind direction is actually going to shift forward, because the boat has more speed than the wind. And what Chris did, he kind of just sailed in a big sort of half circle towards the other end of the racetrack, while MAPFRE and Ike Martinez just decided we're going to stick our course. We're just going to accept that the boat slows down, and because it slows down, we will just be very slow, but we will keep our position. So I think it is a big loss for Vestas there, because Vestas Wind, because they clearly went for the speed instead of just sticking to their position. I see the race committee is signaling a shortening of the race course.
Well, we've just seen that on the image there, a little change of course. MAPFRE now on the bottom of your picture on the virtual eye, looking quite good there. It's starting to come well from hugging that left-hand side. They're going to cross over the top of Team Vestas, and you can see how that boat, the sails are filling, but there's no speed.
It's brutal here. I mean, we could be in a position where Vestas are actually coming around this mark in 4th, going from a strong lead, but one puff of wind could change everything. But we have seen the pressure consistently coming from the left. So when you do get new pressure, it comes from the left-hand side. So it's really just a case of sitting there and waiting for something to come.
Well, the Spanish boat MAPFRE now taking the lead in this race, and importantly, Alvimedica a good few boats behind them. This is exactly what Ike Martinez needs. A few points difference there. Canute, we're just looking at this picture as the boats come up to this first gate. Which mark are we expecting them to go around?
Oh, that's a good question. I think Brunel and MAPFRE are going to go for attack here. But it's all about the speed, and the boat with the speed at the moment is Brunel. Brunel has clearly more speed than MAPFRE. There's no way MAPFRE can actually even do a maneuver and catch Brunel. Brunel has the right of way because they're closer to the mark here, and they will definitely get around the first mark before anyone. So it's a big comeback from Brunel there, and a tough position for Vestas, because not only does Vestas have to tack in behind the other guys, they have to make at least one more tack, and that is expensive. A tack in these light conditions are super expensive. So Bowie Becking and Team Brunel is just rolling into their tack around the mark there. They're going to be the leading boat for sure around this gate, and they're going for what will be the left mark, looking up the course and tacking around with the Cruzeiro as we speak. And MAPFRE is rolling into their tack right now, and I wouldn't be surprised if the next boat is actually SCA, but we could have a port starboard situation here with Vestas Wind and SCA. I'm seeing Vestas is rolling up there on starboard tack. The question is, can SCA sneak in on port tack in front of them? They are trying, they are clearly trying, and I think Vestas is probably too slow. So it could be that SCA can just make it. This is interesting. This is the second time I've seen a very close action between SCA and Vestas Wind. They had some almost collisions actually in Loria, but SCA is just sneaking in front there of MAPFRE and Vestas Wind. That was cheeky, so I'm sure so Mr. Mason in the commentary booth here is going to like that one. That was a very tight rounding, and very good they didn't have more wind, because MAPFRE almost parked up there and let the girls through. That's a gentleman behaviour.
Yeah, it's nice to see some gentlemanly behaviour finally out there on the racetrack. Good manners coming through.
Well, Team Brunel conclude the first leg of this 3-lap import race in the lead, and Team SEA taking second place right at the mark. Disaster for Chris Nicholson and Team Vestas Wind, leading for so much of this race, now chasing 4th.
Well, snuck through beautifully, and what they also did is took all the wind, so they've left a bit of a hole behind them, and we see Vestas struggling to manoeuvre there. They're dead in the water, and we've got MAPFRE struggling to get going, to get around the top mark. They're just going to get round. Vestas are going to have to tack, and you can see the helm's over hard. He's trying to bear away, so it's tough times out there for Chris.
Disaster for Team Vestas Wind. Chris Nicholson struggling to turn the boat. You can see how hard he's having to work those steering wheels, and also, as I can see, the foresail, the masthead Code Zero, was backing So the breeze coming around MAPFRE really playing havoc.
No, this leaves huge holes behind him. You see Liz going up the mast here on the SCA. She's going to kick the battens over. You have to get right into it to get those over. She's not that heavy, Liz. There's some good attitude being shown up there. Easy on the battens, girl.
Well, that's some full effort going in to try and pop those battens down. And Jenny, I understand you're up at the windward mark, and Alvimedica also coming into the hunt as well. You're in the thick of the action. How does it look?
Oh God, this has been a huge windward mark. I mean, I can't believe that Brunel went from very last off the starting line to winning, but that's how far the left side has paid. SCA essentially the same. They were second to last, and now they're second. Liz, unfortunately, having massive trouble trying to kick the battens through here. I'm surprised how long it took for the teams to send people up the mast, though. Abu Dhabi and Dongfeng in the back of the pack sent their bowman up first. SCA now, but the other teams don't, and we saw so many tacks on that upwind where teams never were able to pop their battens through. I think just thinking they would tack back again. But Alvimedica, the only team to round the right-hand mark here. Maybe it'll pay as there is a tiny bit of breeze in the middle of the course, but it was essentially the only way they could go. There was such a park up in front of them with both MAPFRE and Vestas parked around that left mark.
Well, I'm just waiting to see whether that windward mark is indeed hooked on Team Vestas. I cannot see it at the moment, and it'd be a terrible turn of events for Chris Nicholson, having led the early part of this race and making a beautiful display tactically. Just crossing clear of that mark. I think he's clear of that. That's going to be a big relief.
Just going to swing a stern around there, and as he's doing that, he's forcing Dongfeng up. So they're having a really tough time getting around that mark and engaging all the other boats that are coming past them. So Dongfeng, you can see, working very hard to keep clear of Vestas. They will not be enjoying this at all.
Oh, there's just no relief for Chris Nicholson here. You can see the protest flag flying on Team Vestas win, so we'll have to wait to see how the jury review that. Green flag, no incident, no rules broken there for Dongfeng race team, so the race will carry on with no penalty turns. But Chris Nicholson, there's just no clear air for him to get the boat moving.
No, you're dead in the water. I mean, the foils aren't going through the water. You can't do any manoeuvres. You can't tack the boat, can't jibe. So they just need to settle down here, get rumbling, and we've seen an enormous amount of place changes already, and it's just going to continue. But you see the spectator boat down the right-hand boundary of your screen here. It's going to be the boats are laying all the way down here at the moment, so we're not going to see much of a true upwind downwind. This is going to be more of a, if you can call it a drag race and no wind, but it's going to be a drag race down here.
Well, I tell you the interesting thing that I'm seeing develop here, in the lead at the moment, taking it right on that windward mark, was Team Brunel, and at the back of the fleet, albeit not lost yet, Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing. And we went into today saying that if Team Brunel was to finish first and Abu Dhabi was to finish last, it's the only way that Ian Walker could lose the inshore trophy. So right now, some nerves on board Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing. They might not take this one.
No, I'm sure they're quite aware of it, and they'll be doing everything they can to get cracking here. Looks like Brunel have found a nice puff there. As we come down the course, there's a bit of a funneling effect that comes down here, so we might see the boats in the lead stretching out a bit.
Well, as you can see on the top right-hand side of your picture, those are the projected series results, the standings after the action today. And we've got Team Brunel. If everything keeps going the way it is, Team Brunel will finish second. Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing slips one more place. Team Vestas managed to go over the top of them. Brunel could be taking this one, so it's very, very close. And of course, the major battle to watch out for, MAPFRE and Alvimedica. And as I say that, there we go. Team Vestas go in front of Abu Dhabi, and now Abu Dhabi are in the position where they won't be taking the import trophy, and Team Brunel with breeze.
Interesting factor here. I'm seeing rain on that camera lens, so it's obviously raining out there, and I'm also seeing further out in the harbour now that there's actually some dark patches. So I think the breeze is going to build here. Look at the top of your screen. You'll see some pressure coming down here, so the rain's probably been keeping the wind away, and then we might see a bit of breeze filling in behind it.
Well, it certainly looks like they've got some better speed here going off the breeze, because I would have thought with the light winds that we had going off the breeze, as soon as you turn away from the wind, you lose the apparent that you've built up. You really start to slow down, but some good speeds. The fleet is moving.
Well, I think what we're seeing here is a big wind shift as the boats are pretty much reaching down here. It'd be interesting to see what see if we can get a shot of some of the instruments on board and see what sort of wind angles they're sailing. But I'm guessing it's like a 120, 130 true wind angle, more like 120. So they're really reaching down there.
Well, there are the projected standings on the top right. Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing at the moment losing the Import Series. Team Brunel, with the performance that they're bringing to this final Import race, they may be taking the Import Trophy if things stay the way they are. Knut, this looks like a fantastic turn of events for Team Brunel.
Well, for so long, I think you shouldn't put too many things in the bank yet, because with this kind of wind speeds, a very patchy wind direction, very patchy wind in general, anything can happen. You know, we're just watching here the whole compression between Alvimedica, Vestas, and squeezed in between Dongfeng there. And I think this is still a very, very, very open race. Even though it becomes a bit more sort of, you know, straightforward when the breeze is shifting to the south, that is done now. But it could shift almost all the way here. I mean, they're almost now tight reaching to the what we're supposed to be a downwind mark. So yeah, no, I think it's not over, but it's interesting to see that also between Alvimedica and MAPFRE. You know, MAPFRE has to beat Alvimedica with minimum 2 points today and 2 places. And right now, I think they could be 2 places away. And then they have a tie on the Import Race series, and then we're going to go into looking at who has the most first places, who has the most second places, etc. So this is still not over, that's for sure.
Well, it was looking pretty good for MAPFRE earlier on in this race, but Alvimedica have managed to close back to just off the stern of the Spanish team. So at the moment, Alvimedica still holding on to that 4th place. It's this group at the back. This is where the action will come from. Whoever can break free and either upset MAPFRE and Alvimedica, or can Abu Dhabi come back into the hunt.
You see how tricky and how different the wind directions are here. The boats in the back have no wind. Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing are on port jibe. The other boats are on starboard. They're not even enough wind there to get the sails to set. They're actually lifting the sheets up. So, and then up in the lead here, you can see, well, that looks like a helicopter puff there on the water, but they have good breeze in the lead. So they'll be stretching away here, and the rich get richer. But of course, they'll turn the corner. They've got to come back the other way, so they'll be coming into no breeze. But if I was them, I'd be waving that helicopter in my direction, so you can get that helicopter puff. That's gold dust out there.
Well, something that we're seeing more and more in this final race of this year's Volvo Ocean Race. Crews up the mast, casting an eye out for the breeze, and also helping to pop those battens on the manoeuvres. So getting a little bit of input from up the top. And there you can see MAPFRE. They've had a little bit of a push from the helicopter. They've had a little bit of the downdraft going into their sails. Now they've had enough, just maybe waving on the helicopters that are following the race today. And you can see just how light that breeze is around the course. Team Vestas Wind having to sail very high here just to find any speed at all. Jenny, from where you are, where's the next bit of breeze going to fill in from?
Well, as we've seen all day long, it's still on the left-hand side of this race course. The right side still relatively dead. There's not a lot, though, coming from the left. That might be the most pressure we had. As you guys said, there's raindrops out here. There's just a tiny bit of rain over the last 10 minutes. And I think with that rain, we got the most pressure possibly that we'll see all day long. But it meant good things for MAPFRE in the front 3. They've pulled out a little bit. And it meant good things for Alvimedica as well. They were just able to go around the opposite mark, just able to get in front of the 3 boats behind them. So at least for now, they've closed up this points gap to MAPFRE.
Well, Team Brunel still looking quite comfortable out in front, but as Jenny was saying, the breeze going to still hold on that right-hand side. All the teams on that right-hand side will have to see how the breeze will feature in this race, and this will be really playing in the mind of Ian Walker. The box on the top right-hand side, the projected series standings. If the boats finish in the positions that they are, Ian Walker won't be taking the Import Trophy tonight.
Oh, fantastic to see that SCA would be in the podium as well, which is that would be a huge achievement for the girls. The guys hugging the rig up there will be getting a bit uncomfortable. Those harnesses aren't the most comfortable things in the world. They tend to cut the circulation off your legs, so that's why you can see the bowman moving around up there. He's trying to get the circulation back in his feet if you have to sit up there for an hour or so.
Well, there's a lot of games being played out on the race course at the moment because, as you say, Team SCA hunting the podium at the moment, looking good to be able to take that 3rd spot. But of course, Alvimedica and MAPFRE, this is the big battle. However they finish today, it's going to have an effect on how their tie is broken in the overall rankings. After 40,000 miles racing around the planet, you come down to this last final race. The Volvo Ocean Race overall comes down to this next bit of drama on the water. This is amazing.
It's incredible to think. It's almost unthinkable, really.
Well, this on the top right-hand side, this is the overall standings in the Volvo Ocean Race, those numbers at the top of your screen, and it shows us that as the boats finish at the moment, Alvimedica will be finishing on 34 points. MAPFRE, they're on 34 points. That's the tie that we're talking about in the overall standings. That gets split based on how these boats finish. So it's very important to see where they finish at the moment. Very fluky, impossible to call. I wouldn't like to be a tactician on the water, let alone having to judge which boat's going to finish. And Team Brunel, their heart rate's going to be going through the roof.
Oh, it most certainly is. It would be a fantastic thing for Bauer to be able to take this series out. I'm sure he'd have that at the forefront of his mind. But he's a pretty cool customer. Pretty sure he'll just be playing the game with what he's got lying in front of him.
And if you're on board MAPFRE at the moment, you have Alvimedica just behind you. You know you have to put some points between you and them. Are there any tactical options that you have, or is it just really down to the rest of the boats?
Well, it's a bit down to what lies ahead here. At the moment, there's not a lot of options because the boats are all literally laying through to the next mark, so there's no manoeuvres that can be done. But as we've seen, these conditions have changed, and I'm sure they will change again over the next half an hour. So there's still a lot of yacht racing left here.
Well, a fantastic spectator fleet out there, and one of the reasons is getting a chance to see sailing stars, but not only sailing stars on the boats today. We've got the former King of Spain, His Majesty Juan Carlos, a keen sailor himself. You know, I've actually had the pleasure of racing against him at some regattas. I lost, I should point out, but a very passionate man, a very interested in the sport itself.
He's had a long sailing with, actually Bauer Becking used to sail with him a lot, the TP52s, and of course on board SCA today we have Her Royal Highness Victoria's with us, and she's really enjoying being a part of the team and the crew. She was very excited when she left the dock this morning, and I'm sure she'll be amping the crew up. She was on board with us when we came in to Gothenburg on Ericsson. And she was yelling and screaming at the boys when we were driving to get stuck into it, put our backs into it. So she's a fantastic person to have on board.
And I know that some of the sailors were saying that it's almost maddening to think that the whole race around the planet is coming down to this last little piece of water just outside Gothenburg. But this is a treat for everybody watching and everybody out on the water. This is just perfect.
It's a fantastic spectacle, and of course, a big part of what we do is bringing sailing to the people. These boats disappear over the horizon. The media footage has become greater and greater over the years, but essentially they're gone. And to see these boats up live, manoeuvring around in the race village yesterday and the Pro-Am sailing, was a lot of people came up to me and they said, wow, this is just fantastic, You can almost touch them, and that's the feeling, the challenges for us to create.
Well, we're seeing on the racecourse at the moment a little bit of breeze. It's starting to look a little bit better. The boat's moving now, but not a lot of tactical options on the final few meters to complete this first lap, and that's just what Ian Walker doesn't want.
No, he'll be looking for options. He'll be hoping that this breeze swings back to the right, and at the moment there's not many options at all. Everything is just stacked up, and they're laying through to the bottom mark so you can see the bottom of your screen. Maybe one jibe to get in.
Look at the speed that we've got there at the moment. Alvimedica up at around 7.5 knots, whilst Team Brunel, their speed's down. So we're starting to compress a little bit here.
Yes, you can see the princess there sitting down to leeward, having a look at the trim. I wonder if she's got any comments for the girls.
Well, she certainly looks like she's enjoying herself, and Team SEA putting in a great performance at the moment. Second on the water and really going their way, because of course they're only 1 point at the moment off the inshore podium, and that will be a fantastic prize to take home. Bit of a stack up coming here. The fleet really starting to compress, the breeze building from behind.
Yeah, so what will happen here as well, unfortunately, is as they jibe around these bottom marks, they're going to be on a similar wind angle as they go back up. So they'll actually be laying through on port, and they'll be reaching all the way up. So unless we get a significant wind change back to the right, the race committee don't have a lot of options here, because if you've got open water, you can shift the top mark left and true the course up. But in this situation, navigation-wise, they just don't have that option. So they're going to have to sail the course that's laid.
And of course, so tight to the islands here, not a lot of options, but it does bring them in really close to the spectator fleet. And Canute, this is a great treat for everybody who's come out on the water to watch the racing.
Amazing, I was just motoring by on the rib here, and we had lots and lots of people having such a close view. I mean, the boats were almost touching the spectator fleet. And the interesting thing, I mean, just from the race committee now, they are talking about not having 3 laps but 2 laps with this very light wind. So it could be that we're in for a 2-lap race. But the bottom mark here is going to be very, very important. You know, how you time your rounding, how you time the gate. And clearly they cannot lay the gate, which is good news because that creates openings and more opportunities. And I think that we will have an interesting upwind as well going out again. Even though the wind has shifted left big time, it's definitely an opportunity for a compression.
And Knut, from where we're looking, it looks like the breeze is starting to fill in, or is this just another short patch?
Well, I think I was just discussing with Rasmus here that, you know, we have a very left wind direction looking up the race course when you go further up the course, but down here at the bottom gate, I think the wind is actually more right again. So they had to jibe to get down to the gate here, which means that going up again, they will have to tack their way from that bottom gate. And Bill O'Hara, the race officer, he has wisely put the gate a bit closer to land on this side. So it will be more of an upwind, downwind racetrack in this part of the race course. So I think there's plenty of opportunities and passing lanes here on the bottom now. I just see Brunel is jibing there close to shore. I think the girls on Team SCA is just going to be able to cross in front of MAPFRE. But, you know, finding the right lane here to the bottom and actually also choosing the mark, the round is going to be very, very important. I guess most of them will go for the white mark, Rasmus. It looks like the rounding mark is the closest.
Yeah, nobody is laying left gate here, so we'll see a string of boats lining up for that right-hand gate.
And then possibly we think that they will all head out to the left again. That seems like the left is where all the nice things are coming from, so you want to be left.
Well, Bauer Becking still leading this fleet, Team SCA and MAPFRE hot on his heels, but he knows he has to win this race today, and with Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing at the back, he can sense he's got a chance here to take the import trophy.
Well, it's almost halfway round as well. Now this will be an interesting mark rounding here because we've got Brunel quite slow here, SCA coming in hot on the heels. Now they've got quite a nice angle in there. MAPFRE will be trying to get the inside here, but they're dead downwind, so they have the right of way, but they're very slow. I think they'll struggle to get to them.
Well, Jenny, you're right there at that leeward mark. This is looking pretty close.
I agree with Richard. I think that might have been a mistake from MAPFRE. They tried to jibe on SCA's air, but as he says, they've jibed a little early and now they're going to have to go really downwind. Alvimedica behind them, just jibing, they're going to come in hot at this bottom mark. So could be a very interesting, very slow maneuver for MAPFRE. If they manage to get down inside SCA, they're still going to be sort of parked so slow.
Well, there we can just see it. MAPFRE really down on their course, borne away far from the breeze and really slow. But I guess they've got to try something. They've got to put boats between them and Alvimedica.
Yeah, start cutting corners now. Crucial time here for SCA. MAPFRE slow, SCA trimmed up on the wind. As they come round here, SCA become the right-of-way boat because they're the leeward boat, so they can push their way up. They've done it very nicely. A crucial mark rounding here. You've got good speed now. They need to sail nice and high, get up inside that code 0, and really give MAPFRE, throw them the asthma inhaler, so make sure there's no wind back there for them.
Well, it almost looked like the Spanish team were trying to line up to overhaul Team Brunel, but if they can just get SCA, that's still one boat between them and the Americans starting to go their way.
Yeah, the SCA, they really need to push up here. You see MAPFRE, they're going to be interesting here. They're trying to get the weather position so that they're trying to do the same thing I just discussed there, so they can control Alvimedica. So they want to be sitting up, just advance a little bit to forward on them and deploy the oxygen masks on Alvimedica. So we'll see how they go, but Alfie could push through to leeward of these guys if they've got the boat speed.
So this is the race for 4th spot overall in this year's Volvo Ocean Race. MAPFRE dealing out the first of the match racing maneuvers, pinching up high out of that mark to try and force Alvimedica into a leeward position. Doesn't seem to be going their way. Charlie Enright still got speed.
Yes, he's done a beautiful job there, Charlie. So now MAPFRE dead on the water, having to do a slow speed tack, and Alvimedica get down. They'll extend, build speed, and then they should tack with them if they want to match them. But they should extend a little bit. Here they go, rolling into attack now. Have to be a little bit careful of Brunel's breeze up above them. But they want to do a nice manoeuvre here. They should come out of it with better boat speed, and they can continue to control MAPFRE. But didn't quite get that one right. That was a bit tough on the MAPFRE guys who went too high too early.
Well, this is the aggression that we've been predicting from MAPFRE, and also this is the answer back from Alvimedica, tacking with them, saying, well, if you're going to go to the right-hand side, I'm going to go with you because all I need to do is finish alongside you. Both teams in a reasonable position in this race. They could still overhaul the Team SCA. towards the back of the fleet. Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing coming back in here. All they've got to do, not finish last.
No, well, they picked up close to picked up a couple of boats there, and we've seen Ian do this before. He just quietly keeps ticking away, and he picks them off and works his way up to the middle of the fleet. I still got a gut feeling that stacking up to the left as you go back up this next beat is going to be important. I think anything that gauge you can get to left is going to pay as you come towards the top.
Well, Team Brunel out in the lead at the moment, sailing past the fleet coming downwind, and as they look over on the right-hand side, all they can see is Ian Walker has brought his boat back into the hunt. Bauer-Becking doing everything he can, but unless Abu Dhabi finishes in last place, Bauer's not going to take that import trophy. Ian will be working incredibly hard at this next leeward mark rounding. We'll have to see how the breeze starts to develop for Abu Dhabi. Jenny, how's the breeze looking? Can Ian slip down and hold the lead in front of Team Vestas Wind?
I definitely think they can. They've got a good enough lead on Vestas. They won't be as slow as MAPFRE, and it's filling down from the course, actually from the right side this time. So MAPFRE's been able to, at this point, pinch off Alvimedica. Alvimedica just had to tack back, which is a huge deal, and MAPFRE sailing away clean into the right air and the right pressure on the right side of the course.
Well, Dongfeng race team now around the bottom mark, but there, she's called it well. Ian Walker has got some fantastic speed coming into that bottom part of the course. Team Vestas Wind quite wide to the left-hand side. They might be able to sneak inside if the British skipper sails a little wide of this leeward mark, but that's not likely to happen.
No, he'll do this nicely. Just Dongfeng just sailing out of the picture there. Of course, got Martin Strongberg on board there, local boy. He's from Gothenburg, so he if anyone should know his way, he'd pick his way around this harbour and know these shifts as the breeze seems to be oscillating again from left to right.
Well, Chris Nicholson was leading off the start line, did a superb job of taking the fleet right the way up to the top of the course and then losing that lead in the final few metres. Now he's chasing Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing at the back of this fleet. Team Brunel still leading, but the key point here, Abu Dhabi are not last. Bauer-Becking knows that he doesn't just have to win this race, he has to see Ian Walker falling foul of the rest of the fleet. On the top right hand side of your screen you can see the projected series standing for the import racing. So as the boats finish as they are, Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing still claim the #1 spot. Team Brunel will take second, MAPFRE will take third, Alvimedica fourth.
Looks like we're seeing a slight trend to left again here. You can see the tracks of the boat start to just hook up to the left-hand side of your screen. MAPFRE in good breeze, but they look as if they're falling out of it, bending down. Pretty similar characteristics of what we saw in the first beat, just slightly more pressure. And looks like is the course been shortened a little bit on this one, or it's still in the same spot?
I think the course has been shortened a little bit, and as they did come down to the bottom of the course, I thought I just saw the committee boat flying the change of course sign, so they brought in the position from that windward mark, so slightly shorter, no less intense for the sailors. Team Brunel out in the front looking like they're laying, and Alvimedica looking quite comfortable on this left-hand lay. The question will be MAPFRE on the right-hand side of Alvimedica. Are they going to have to do one more tack to make it up to the top of this course? Could this go back the way of Alvimedica and they can claim a few more points in this race?
No, it's back into just minimising those manoeuvres until these boats get off these code zeros. These tacks and jibes are super expensive. I'm still picking that it's going to be difficult to come out of the right, but if MAPFRE can lay up there, that's a couple less manoeuvres for them, so they'll probably try and push this all the way to the right hand side and just do one tack and in, but we'll see how they go. They'll be looking for an opportunity to get up to them.
Oh, quite brave of the Spanish boat MAPFRE here, because this is the first team that's pushed that right hand side on this upwind leg, and as we saw in the previous lap, it was all about the left as you're looking upwind. That's where the new breeze came in, so this could be a signal that the new wind is starting to stick over the whole course. Canute, I understand, this breeze is looking a little bit better. You're by Alvimedica. They're laying the top of the course?
They are laying the top of the course, absolutely. The further up the course you get, the more left the wind direction looks like. So I think, MAPFRE's only hope is that MAPFRE can make it from their position. But if MAPFRE has to make two tacks, it's going to be painful, and Alvimedica is going to have a good shot at getting right up to them. However, the most important for Alvimedica right now is that MAPFRE does not pass SEA. As long as Alvimedica is just within 1 point of MAPFRE, they are fine for their overall standings. But they're just going to make sure there's no one between them looking at them right now, clearly MAPFRE has to make at least 2 tacks there to get up to the gate, maybe only 1, but they have to tack. They're not going to lay the gate. So interestingly on Brunel, they just got headed a bit, or they are aiming for the right mark. So it could be a little bit of a change for wind direction up at the gate, but certainly it's going to be close between Alvimedica and MAPFRE.
I wonder if they had a bit of trouble on Brunel, because I saw the guys running a spare sheet round there, so they might have had an override on the winch. But they were doing something there, or rerunning a sheet. Maybe they were just setting up for doing inside jibes. Is probably what it was as they go around the mark there. So one more leg to go for these guys.
So a last-minute decision for Team Brunel, and we've just had it confirmed that this is the last downwind. They've shortened the course, so the next time these boats reach the bottom of the track, they will be finishing. The question is, MAPFRE looking quite good on the right-hand side, tacking over. Can they make it stick? If they can cross ahead of Team SCA, then they have that all-important boat between them and Alvimedica. But still, enough of this race left to go where the breeze, the rocks, the light airs could still cause an upset.
There could be a little potential cross coming here between SCA and MAPFRE as well. Of course, if SCA can hold this position in the standings and they're up on the podium for the Import Series, massive achievement, would be fantastic. Looks like they're going to get around here in front of them, so they'll be wanting to do a nice jibe here. MAPFRE will be coming over to Alvimedica and trying to tack over in front of them, but they will be slow. So it's going to be another busy rounding here for MAPFRE.
Well, Team SCA crossing over the top of MAPFRE, and we've seen this again and again in this race. The Spanish team getting themselves into a nice tactical position and just narrowly missing out on making it stick. Not quite enough speed, the breeze not quite filling in where it should, and they just lost that last little opportunity. They're going to have to do something good on this final downwind. They need to put a boat between them and the Americans, and now Alvimedica right on their stern.
Well, I certainly hope they don't, because the boat they'll have to put them between them is SCA, and I've got butterflies in my stomach at the moment. I'd be very happy to see them finish where they do.
Well, MAPFRE now around the top of the course. Team SCA already completed that jibe, the sails set, and they're making their way down to the bottom. This is the final leg before the boats reach the finish. Team Brunel out in the lead, their major opponent Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing towards the back of the fleet, and of course they will be working hard to keep Team Vestas behind them. Bauerbecking wins and Ian Walker finishes in last place, but the inshore trophy goes to the Dutchman.
It's sort of very close here between Team SCA and MAPFRE, and they're looking up the track there. This is far from over. Ooh, a big manoeuvre coming in here from Alvimedica. They're going to have to keep turning the boat there. MAPFRE will be coming up hard. You can see the helm down there. Urca won't be giving them an inch there. This could be very close. I'm sure the umpires will be in having a good look at that.
Oh, Charlie Enright's coming right in on the inside of between MAPFRE and that mark. It looks like Iker Martinez now putting the bow down. So happy that he's got control of them, but now the bow comes up again. Charlie Enright having to keep clear. His windward boat here, very important. MAPFRE being very aggressive, trying to hold Charlie Enright behind him. A small opportunity for the American team to try and get inside and get that windward position, but Iker Martinez answering that one superbly.
Yeah, he got that one right. He said, don't you dare come in there, I'm going to teach you a lesson, which he's done. So they're off now with nice pace.
Well, it was almost quite brave here of Charlie Enright to do that, because imagine they'd have got a penalty in that position. That might have pushed them back. And Knut, you were watching that manoeuvre. That was pretty well answered there by Iker Martinez.
Yeah, Rasmus Kostner, my guy next to me, he's a match racing specialist. And Rasmus, you thought Iker was a bit defensive there. He should have just left them up to head to win and waited for the next boat to stay in between them, right?
That was really risky by Alvimedica to commit inside there. They were overlapped, and MAPFRE could just luff and let them sit there for a while. They let them go, and the opportunity seems to be less and less coming in. Oh, we got some action coming up here. Maybe we'll see some match racing action coming up.
Well, what that has done is it's put a bit more of a gap between them and SCA, so I'm certainly happy about that.
Well, we can see Dongfeng Race Team now reaching the top of the course at the moment. They did come into today with the possibility of making their way up the rankings in the import. However, they're not going to be able to close down on those last few positions right at the top. They're still out of touch with the boats at the front of the fleet. Team Vestas win heading off to the left-hand side of your picture. Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing coming upwind and just going to leeward of MAPFRE and Alvimedica, who look set to have a really good tussle here. Charlie Enright's got to be careful. Does not want a penalty now.
No, definitely not. But at the same time, they're going to have to push and really go for it. I see the umpires circling around in the background there, so they'll be. These guys will be playing with one another all the way to the finish now. They won't even be worrying about the other boats.
And of course, I can see the smile on your face starting to grow and grow, because this is just opening up more distance for Team SCA, so their second place looking more and more secure.
Well, yeah, we've got to be a bit careful being the suspicious people we are in sailing, so we won't say it's in the bag till it's in the bag, and it looks pretty light up there in front of them, but here we go. So it's pretty busy here in MAPFRE.
There's some big manoeuvres going on the water here. Canute, what can you see?
Well, what is happening is exactly what Rasmus was speaking about. If Iker really wants to be offensive here, what he has to do is to slow down completely and try to get Dongfeng raced in between MAPFRE and Alvimedica. So what he's doing now, he's basically stopping completely, going really low, and Alvimedica have no choices but to follow. If Alvimedica try to come up here, Iker is going to answer immediately and try luffing them. So he's slowing down Alvimedica. This is real hardcore match racing and waiting for Dongfeng to catch up, and hoping that to find a place where they can slip Dongfeng between Alvimedica and MAPFRE. What do you think, Rasmus? Are they doing the right things here?
Oh, that's a good opportunity here. It's not over yet, so it's really exciting. It's all about managing the speed as MAPFRE, and Alvimedica looking for the opportunities where they have a bit more speed and then try and get to windward and roll MAPFRE. But it's definitely happening quick here.
It's not often you get this sort of situation in international sailing where you're actually holding someone up to let someone past. Explain that.
And of course, look how close they are getting here. Charlie Enright has to position this boat just in the right position. He's getting a little bit of an overlap there, but of course, coming from behind, he's got limited rights. He's got a limited amount of space he can push MAPFRE up. MAPFRE can sail to the finish and then say, well, no more. I don't have to go up any more of that. So the boat with the most amount of power is the Spanish team MAPFRE, and Charlie Enright, he's only got himself to blame here. He tried to push it in on that windward mark. And Canute, we can see some protest flags.
Yeah, Alvimedica was just protesting there, and that was green flagged by the umpires. So I guess they were protesting for a MAPFRE changing course or something, but it was green flagged, so it didn't achieve anything. And now Alvimedica is slowly coming up. Dongfeng is closing up here fast and quickly. So, but Iker Martinez has to hurry up with his tactics, because he needs now Dongfeng to get closer quickly for this to happen. But it is possible. It is clearly possible if he can slow Alvimedica down all the way. Another protest here, another protest by Alvimedica, and also green flagged by the jury. So this is hardcore match racing. After 9 months of racing around the world, this is what it comes down to.
Well, this is very, very close here, and of course, two high-level skippers here. We've got the Olympic medals on board MAPFRE, and then years of inshore racing experience with Alberto Bolzan on the helm at the moment with Alvimedica, and it's all coming down to the overlap. Every time that overlap is broken, MAPFRE tries to sail a little bit lower, tries to put Alvimedica right to stern of them. They desperately want Charlie Enright's boat to come up to the windward side. Alvimedica trying to get that inside overlap. Well, Jenny, the finish line, Team Brunel coming up here to take the win.
Yeah, we've got Team Brunel within about 3 boat lengths to the finish line here. Everybody very cool and calm and collected. Just did probably their second to last jibe, although maybe they'll be able to soak in on this final one. But you can see Bauer becking down to leeward there, just taking a look at the finish line. I think they're quite confident here. I think the action is further up the track with that massive match race between MAPFRE and Team Alvimedica.
Well, Team Brunel looks set to take the victory here. Team SCA behind them, and then behind that, MAPFRE and Alvimedica, and now Dongfeng coming in for that battle for third place. Of course, this is all very important for MAPFRE. But out at the front, Team Brunel now set to take the win in the final race of this, the 12th edition of the Volvo Ocean Race. A great finish for the Dutchman. You're only as good as your last result. And now, when the last test for these sailors, he takes victory. And of course, his eyes will be glued to Ian Walker and Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing. And there it is, coming across the finish line. The bow of Team Brunel crosses the last finish line for the Volvo Ocean Race. 40,000 miles round the planet, 1 lap completed, and now the last inshore race goes the way of the Dutchman. A great result.
Yeah, Simon Manoprio was in there. He'd been giving him a hand, world match racing champion. But looking one back there, we got Team SCA also approaching the finishing line, and this is a phenomenal result for them because it puts them on the podium in third for the Import Series. Who would have picked that at the beginning?
Well, Team Brunel taking the win. Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing still at the moment in a position where they will claim the Import Trophy. But of course, the big story right now is all about this picture here. Alvimedica, MAPFRE, and now Dongfeng. This is the way that the Spanish boat wanted it to go.
This is amazing how they played this out. So he's now let them in there, and this could actually end up being a masterful piece of yachting.
Well, the Spanish boat MAPFRE now has that all-important other competitor between them and Alvimedica. That's the points difference that they want. So if MAPFRE can just hold Dongfeng between them, but of course, 1 more jibe to go, maybe 2 more jibes to go to cross this finish line. Still some big tactical moves left to go. Team SCA now crossing the line in second place. A great race for Sam Davies and her all-female crew, coming right back up into those top numbers in this final import race. A great way to finish.
Oh, you beauty girls, man, I'll be proud of you. Nice work.
Team SCA, you can see the smiles and the cheering on board. You know that after all these many miles, all these many months, 4 oceans you've sailed across, that final import race here in Gothenburg comes to a close. Your Volvo Ocean Race is completed.
I see the boat's been handed over to very safe hands there as Her Highness has taken it on. I think someone just leapt over the side for joy there.
So MAPFRE, now we can see the track starting to come up. They've got to position themselves just perfectly here. They have to allow Dongfeng a chance to get to the finish line ahead of Alvimedica. Alvimedica driving into what's quite a comfortable position there. They're going to be able to affect the breeze. Knut, this looks like it's going to come down right to the line.
Please get them to sail, Jack. Yeah, this it's absolutely masterpiece of tactics from Ike Martinez. I mean, you couldn't have written the chapter better in the tactics of sailing book, because just managed to squeeze Dongfeng in between them and Alvimedica like that. It's perfect tactics. I think, yeah, Charlie Enright is not very happy right there, that's for sure. And now we're going to have to do the maths about who has the most first places and second place. I think we will have it from the race committee every moment.
Well, MAPFRE now cross the finish line, and behind them, Dongfeng Race Team look set to take the next finishing position in front of Alvimedica. This could be them taking 4th in the Volvo Ocean Race. A superb moment for Ike Martinez. Xavi Fernandez certainly looks confident on board MAPFRE there. They know that it all came together in those final few hundred metres.
I take my hat off to you, boys. That was a masterful piece, and it was well thought out and very well played out, and it's not an easy thing to do. So, yeah, very, very well done. I'm sure the Alvimedica guys will be pretty disappointed with that. And Dongfeng, Charlie will have enjoyed the opportunity to pick a couple of places up.
I've got to say, I did not think that that was possible at all. And Jenny, you're there with Alvimedica. How's the body language?
You can definitely see some disappointment here. I mean, Charlie's just taken his hat off and is scratching his head, and they haven't even crossed the finish line yet. It was a hugely incredible move by MAPFRE and Ike Martinez, but a huge disappointment for Alvimedica. They knew that they were close, and they just lost out in that match racing on the final leg. I think these guys are going to be feeling this one for a while to come still.
It's heartbreaking to watch the body language on board Alvimedica there. You can see Dave Sweet just having a little bit of a chance, just running through some of those manoeuvres in his head with the rest of the crew. What else could we have done? What could we have done here? That is so disappointing when it comes down to those final last manoeuvres after sailing all the way around the world.
Well, Dave Sweet's pretty handy on the rolls. He's also been a world match racing champion. He used to sail with Manoprio when they were doing the world match racing tour, and they were very successful together. So they'll be pretty frustrated by that one.
Well, MAPFRE now take 4th place in the Volvo Ocean Race overall, and with the celebration starting to unfold on board the boat, they've given the helm there to King Carlos of Spain, taking the boat up the river as they continue their procession of sail. Ike and Xavi, 2 co-skippers for this race, celebrating their fantastic turn of events in the dying moments of this race, and rightly so. A great moment for them.
Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing, one more drive to go and they'll get the double. Very impressive performance by these guys this year in this edition of the race.
Well, Ian Walker now takes Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing across the finish line, and crucially, one boat behind them. So Ian Walker takes both the overall trophy and the import trophy as well. 2 victories for Ian Walker and his crew. A great way to finish what has been a fantastic year of sailing for this British sailor.
Yeah, they're the undoubted kings. They've done a fantastic performance. They deserve every single accolade that they get. Hats off, guys. It's been polished from start to finish. It's been great to watch.
And I bet that's big relief there for the British Olympian. He knows that he came close to losing the import trophy.
I think the biggest sign about the performance of these guys was when they came out of the Southern Ocean in that big leg. There wasn't a single thing broken on their boat. They'd managed the boat so well through all those tough conditions that they actually hadn't broken a batten. And that's impressive, because not many boats come out of the Southern Ocean without a work list that's a mile long. So they've been very clinical. They've managed themselves extremely well. They've sailed a brilliant regatta. Hats off.
Well, Canute, double winner Ian Walker, and we're watching him on the boat. He looks tired. He looks like he's given this race his all.
I think he has, and I think it's a well-deserved win. I mean, he has been incredibly focused and determined. I think I've never seen determination like with Ian. I mean, he's just been so focused every single nautical mile around the world, and obviously here now he's relaxed, and he was relaxed today, but he he must be extremely happy today, and he deserves everything, and so is his crew. And I mean, he has a fantastic team behind him, and a great coach, I think, in Neil McDonald. So no, really big achievement.
And of course, Canute, he was given a very good run in this race. He didn't go completely his way in the early stages. Dongfeng and Team Brunel making him work quite hard for it, but doing the double here, taking both trophies, superb for Abu Dhabi.
Absolutely. I mean, they have been the consistent team. They haven't been winning that many legs, but they have been extremely consistent, and that really is what is paying off when the fleet is so close, and we have 6 different boats winning 9 legs. I mean, how often do you have that?
Well, we can just see on the screen Chris Nicholson taking Team Vestas across the finish line, quite a long way behind Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing, but important to remember, this was the boat that nailed that start. They made a superb use of that first upwind leg. Unfortunately, the rest of the fleet just slipping past.
Well, that first top mark was very expensive for them, where they just missed that ley line a little bit, tried to tack, couldn't tack, and really there was just a concertina of events and boats that came over where it was pretty tough for them, and there wasn't a lot of passing lanes to get back into it.
And we've seen a lot from this team since they came back into the race after their shipwreck on leg 2, that they know how to position themselves around the race course, they know how to sail, but maybe just a little bit of inexperience, lacking in knowledge maybe as to how much speed you do lose in the light airs on these maneuvers, just punishing them a little bit on the water.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they lost a big chunk of the race there, and the guys have got back into it in a very impressive way. But possibly just that little bit of all the other crews know the boat so well, but it was a bit unlucky there. I wouldn't say it was too much of that. It was just the guys they got into manoeuvre there, found a hole and got stuck in irons. It's a very difficult situation to get out of.
Well, we said that the final race in this year's Volvo Ocean Race would really make a big difference to the scores and the overall standings, and it's certainly done just that. Let's have a little look at the finishing positions on the racing today. Team Brunel take that win looking very comfortable. Team SEA had a great turn, finishing in 2nd place, and crucially MAPFRE finish ahead of Alvimedica with Dongfeng Race Team between, and then Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing not taking that last spot. The overall import series goes the way of Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing taking that top spot. Team Brunel finish in 2nd, and Team SEA back on the podium. MAPFRE in 4th, and crucially Team Alvimedica in 5th. And the way that those teams are now positioned is so important for the overall rankings. Now that means that on the final standings, MAPFRE move up to 4th place overall, pushing the Americans, Team Alvimedica, 1 spot down into 5th. Everything on these final standings between those two teams coming down to the final race. What an exciting race. Would you expect to see that after all those thousands of miles around the world?
This has been an incredible race. Just looking up here at some of your notes you got on the wall. Finishing times for legs. The difference here, 12 minutes in between the first and second boats. Then 16 minutes, 3 hours is the biggest deficit. There used to be 3 days, sometimes weeks. And some of the smallest deficits, you're down to 2-3 minutes. It's absolutely unbelievable how close the race has been. I've been blown away by the race, and I've got a long history in it. And for it to come down to this today, if you had asked me the same question in Alicante, I'd be like, no way, it'll be well decided by then. It's a side of the future. I think the race is in a very healthy shape in terms of the actual sportsman side of it. It's been incredibly close, nail-biting finishes, fantastic across the board. Congratulations to every sailor out there. They've done a brilliant job.
Well, the race certainly is in a healthy shape. Great for the spectators now as the boats roll into the Gothenburg Harbour race. Knut, you must be very pleased with this edition.
Well, I'm very pleased. I said to some people yesterday that 3 years ago the world was in a financial crisis. Everything looked pretty dark for anyone in any sport at that time. And I think we have created a really good platform. We had great racing. The boats have finished the legs. The boats are actually still in very good shape, and I have enjoyed it. I said to friends yesterday that for the first time I really wanted to do the race myself.
And Knut, what can we expect in the next few months? Because a lot of these teams, they were talking about maybe we'll see these boats out on the water again, training, competing in competitions. Is there more opportunities to see how these teams and boats get on the water?
Well, I think quite a few boats will head to the UK to be participating in Chaos Week and the Fastnet Race. We also have a group of boats going to Italy in October in Geneva. And I think we will see some boats in Denmark, some boats in the Netherlands. So quite a few races, but we're trying these 2 races in the UK and in Geneva to be sort of the 2 big events for the whole fleet. And then when we get closer to the end of the year, we will sit down with all the teams and plan a very good season next year.
And of course, Team Brunel, a fantastic result today, and Bauer Becking has every reason to be proud. He's really ignited Dutch support for offshore sailing and a great turn of events, and so close to victory in the Import Series as well.
Absolutely.
And also we've got MAPFRE as well, finishing just behind Team Brunel, just behind Team Brunel at the moment in the harbour race for the spectators on their way up to the race village. And a great turn for Iker Martinez, Xavi Fernandez and the team. They kept their heads in the game. Did you expect that turn of events, Knut?
Well, it's what do you expect and what you don't expect in this race. I think the only thing you know that things are going to be very different than what you expect. Today my expectations were for a very tricky day, with very, very little wind and not too many passing options. But then we had probably the most hairy match racing maneuver in the whole series, happening on that last little stretch to the finish. So I think it was a great day, and I think in general we have experienced some incredibly good racing, some really good sailing, where the teams have been tested, and I think all the discussions after each leg has been about who made good decisions, who had the right trimmers, who had the right sleep, who were physically prepared, and who have done the best job. So that's the way it should be.
Well, Jenny, you were right when you said that we wouldn't see the match racing manoeuvres coming out in the first part of this race, but that final half of that last leg, that was match racing purity.
How incredible was it that the entire overall series of the Volvo Ocean Race was determined on the very last leg of the very last import race. I think it was phenomenal. I think MAPFRE, Iker Martinez, Xavi Fernandez, the entire crew did a spectacular job. I think unfortunately for Charlie Enright, he's got to go to a little bit more match racing school before the next Volvo Ocean Race, just in case the scenario like this happens again. But very well done to the Spanish team. What a match race today, and what a good job for them to get Dongfeng in between the 2.
And Jenny, if I could just get your final thoughts on the overall race, Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing, certainly worthy winners.
I think so. I think we saw Ian Walker's determination. I think we saw his ability to say, we just want to be podium, we don't need to win. We never saw them do anything risky throughout the race. They were always strong, they were always solid, and they've basically pulled off the hat trick. They've won overall, they've won the import, and they won the IWC Speed Challenge. So very well deserved to Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing and Ian Walker as the first British skipper to win the Volvo Ocean Race.
Well, thanks for all your help today, Jenny, and thanks for keeping us up to date with the race as it developed with all your work and all your team on the inside track. And Richard, this has been quite an incredible end to the race. My heart rate's only just starting to come down now.
Yeah, yours and mine both. It's been incredible to watch all the facets of the race has gone along. When we had match racing, there were the jibing duels going around Cape Horn. We've had it in the import racing. It's been so close. The intensity's been so high. I think we have to say phenomenal congratulations to all the crews out there. They've just sailed around the world, and that's a huge achievement in themselves. Now tonight they can relax and settle into enjoying what they've achieved. It's going to take them a little while to really absorb what they've done. They've done something amazing.
And looking to the future, we've got Charles Cordrelia on Dongfeng Race Team. This was a boat that featured very strongly in the early part of this race, a real contender for overall victory. And I know that Charles has been hinting that, I mean, he's desperate to get back out on the race course again. He's really enjoyed it, but he knows he's got more to give.
Yes, I think something fantastic of this race is that it's blooded a lot of new sailors. It's brought a lot of new sailors into the sport. It's unearthed some new leaders, and they'll all be sitting there having a good think about how do we get back in this the future. And there's one thing about this race: you never say never. There's actually two things: you expect the unexpected, and you can never get to a point where you say, well, I'm never doing this race again, because I'm sure in a week's time everyone will be signing up to do it again. So once it gets in your blood, you'll never get it out.
And Charles Cordrelia, when they did first come into this and they did start taking those early leg wins and they really did start to feature, I mean, they were a major contender all the way round to even after their mast broke, as they were on the Southern Ocean leg. They came back on the next leg, won it.
Yes, and that's a sign of a strong team, good character, and of course they've put a lot of Chinese sailors through the boat, and these guys have become very good sailors in themselves. And the way the team's grown and developed, they've been hugely aggressive on the racetrack, and they've done a great job. You look through SCA, where are they at now? I mean, if you had to ask people if that team was going to win a leg and finish on the podium in the import races in Alicante, they'd be looking at you going, oh, come on. So it's been fantastic. It's very healthy, very good for sport with what everybody has achieved out there.
And talking about what's good for the sport, let's have a look at your team, Team SCA, because, Sam has always said, we're not here to promote women's sailing. We're not here to do anything like that. We're just here to race. We're just here to push hard. But the support that this team has generated and the way that it's proven that females can come into the Volvo Ocean Race and cut it just as well with the men.
Yeah, they most certainly can. That was always the intention of this campaign. There's been the female empowerment. It's a very obvious side of what we've been doing out there, but we in the sailing team, the sportive side, we're just trying to be able to put the very best sailors out there that we can. And these girls are extremely good sailors in their own right now. They're not girls, they're just pairs. They're people out there who can sail around the world, who can win legs, trim as good as anybody else, and they're very deserving of any spot they get on any boat.
And how has it been from your view inside the team? Because of course a lot of pressure comes from the outside when people are basically judging the future of female sailing based on how your sailors are doing.
Oh, there's been a lot of pressure inside the team. There's been there's been a lot of focus on the performance, and the age-old Volvo adage: you never give up. You keep on fighting and you will get the results. You'll get there eventually, and they have never given up. They've fought like hell, tooth and nail, and here they are. They're finishing, and we're so proud of what they've achieved. They've won a leg. It's phenomenal. The first time in 20 years that the female team has won a leg of the race. It's not easy to win a leg of this race.
And of course, won the leg in such style, because that was some of the most brutal sailing that we've seen. I mean, the Southern Ocean leg this year, I mean, I don't want to say that it was easy, but it's not as hard as we've seen in the past. But coming through the Bay of Biscay, that was atrocious sea state, big breeze and upwind all the way.
Yeah, it was upwind all the way, and it was, nobody jagged it. They controlled the fleet. They sailed very well. They sailed tactically. They managed the boat extremely well. It was a solid wind, and it was very enjoyable to watch. Very nerve-wracking ashore, I can tell you.
And how has the team sort of come together? Because of course we've got ocean sailors on board Team SCA, and then we've got import sailors coming in. And as we look at a team like Alvimedica, this is a young crew. How easy is it to sort of build and gel a team?
Well, it takes a while to get the team going, but again, that's another thing that Volvo Ocean Race does, is it pushes teams together. It's the ultimate cooking pot of human beings, and then it produces these incredibly strong teams. And we were waiting for the click, and we got the click. And what we have out there is a very tight, strong team at the moment. It's been fantastic to watch them all grow.
And how are these guys going to be feeling on board Alvimedica? Because I can see the body language of Charlie Enright, and he doesn't look like a happy man at the moment.
Pretty frustrated there now in the moment, but these guys should be super proud of what they've done. They are the young guys. They've come forward with a pretty inexperienced team, except for Will Oxley. He's done a fantastic job as sort of the grandfather on board, who's really imparted an awful lot of knowledge over to these guys about how to sail offshore tactically. Stu Bannatyne came in for a while. They've had Paul Kaya. They've done a great job of getting inputs, and they've performed. We've seen them shine. They've been very impressive. So they've cut their teeth. They're ready to come back in the next race and be competitive and push for that podium position.
Well, Canute, we're just following Alvimedica, and of course today we saw them bested by MAPFRE, but this was a young team that have come into the race and they led around Cape Horn. This is a boat to be reckoned with. Well, we're just missing Canute there, but we're just going to come back to him, and it's just a little heartbreaking here to see Charlie Enright quite stationary on the boat at the moment. He's obviously got a lot going on in his mind, but I'm sure that if somebody said to him, your first time in the Volvo Ocean Race, you're going to finish 5th, but not only finish 5th, you're going to make all the other teams work extremely hard to beat you, he'd have been a happy man back there. So maybe when the dust settles, it'll start to sink in.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for all the sailors out there, they're going to go through a pretty tough period in the next second here. It's the race is all over now, and over the next week they're going to wake up and the adrenaline's not going to be there. These guys have been living on high octane gas, throttle wide open for 9 months. Tonight they're going to be able to celebrate it. Tomorrow it's all over.
Well, Canute, I understand that we've got you there now, and Alvimedica, this is a team which has featured higher in this race than some thought possible.
Absolutely. I mean, they have shown that they're learning quickly, and winning that last leg into Gothenburg, they sailed a flawless race. They have sailed some incredibly good import races. They have sailed also some other very good legs. I mean, leading around Cape Horn in this fleet in your first Volvo Ocean Race is it's not a small feat. So it came down to just a tactical maneuver a couple of meters before the finish line here in Gothenburg in the end. But that's very close, and that's also experience. I mean, Iker Martinez has won so many races in his life. He's Olympic medalist, he's world champion, and that shows in those kind of situations.
And Charlie Enright was saying to me in the press conference, Canute, that he was saying, now after completing a lap of the planet, I now feel ready to do the Volvo Ocean Race. So how much of a journey is it for these sailors? What will they have learned about themselves?
Well, I think first of all, I mean, you start this race and you could only watch from the outside and you think, what are the right way to prepare? What are the right things to train on? What kind of people do I want to have in my team? And things like that. And I spoke to Charlie the other day and he said, what you learn now, when you have done it, you think differently. You just realize that how important it is to have that extra pace in the end. How much you should push. Like they got Stu Bannatyne on board on that Southern Ocean leg, who helped them to show this is the pace level, guys. This is how hard you have to push. And there's no doubt that on board that boat, they are sailing the boat very, very differently in the last half of the race compared to what they did in the beginning. So if they had started today again, they probably would have pushed harder. They would have been less conservative. They would have been, stretching themselves even further than they thought was possible. And this race is quite often to take it as far as you possibly can without breaking.
Well, speaking of pushing it hard until you break something, Team Vestas, they have come back into this race from that leg 2 shipwreck. And Canute, I know that you didn't think that was going to be possible.
Well, I was dreaming, and I was kind of. I always say that's the moments in the Volvo Ocean Race that explains why you're doing it, because in this race it's really all about facing the impossible challenge and trying to overcome it. And I think what happened to the Vestas thing was something that no one of us had ever imagined could happen. I mean, I didn't even in my wildest dreams think that anyone could land the boat on top of a dry reef and in the middle of somewhere so far away from civilization. But when it happened, in the end, we everyone got together. The race, the sponsor, the team, the boat builders, the yards, and we all said, "Let's do it. Let's try. This is crazy, but let's try." And then just seeing that determination among the crew and among the team, and the boat builders and the boat yards, especially their Persico in Italy, who made amazing effort, working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Well,
So, unbelievable.
Chris Nicholson was saying that as hard as it was to get back into the race, giving up would have been harder. And from your experience, Knut, how important was it for these sailors to get back into the race?
I think it was very important. I think if you end on the reef and that's where you end, that's the end of the story, and that's what all will remember. Now they came back, and don't forget they went straight into that leg from Lisbon and came second into Loria, and that shows that this team had a lot of potential. They're obviously missing a lot of experience with the boat compared to the other teams. You know the angles, you know the trims, all these things, but I think it was very, very important. Also important for Vestas, the sponsor. Important for their fans. Now we have a boat again in the race. We have 7 boats. We didn't want to end the race with less boats than we started. That's for me, it's a very, very important thing.
Well, Richard, just talking there about Team Vestas win coming back into this. From where you were as a competitor, do you welcome another boat back into the fleet, or do you think, it's one more boat we've got to beat?
Oh, it's a big part of the race. Of course, you welcome them back, and you've got to recognise the effort that these guys went to. Everybody across the board, the commitment to get back into the race. And Knut was saying, this race is all about doing the undoable. That's one of the red threads in the race. So you have, as a shore manager, I have a tremendous amount of respect for the decisions that were made and for the way Coxie and the guys put that boat back together and got it back in the race. So we welcome them back with open arms, and it's great to see the fleet finish complete.
Well, at the back here, Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing making their way up the river, and this has been the boat that really has featured in the 12th edition of the Volvo Ocean Race. Right from the beginning, Ian Walker had his eyes firmly on the prize. In fact, on those first few press conferences, he wasn't giving too much away about their watch system, their food system. He had something up his sleeve right from day one, didn't he? Well, what he had up his sleeve was a lot of experience. He went after the right guys. Tooney there, Justin Slattery. I think Tooney's done the race 5 times. Slattery's done it. Settle there's 5th. You got Daryl Westling. He's done it 3 times. Obviously Ian himself's done it 3 times. He's got Sci-Fi's done it 4. So he went after the right guys. A good combination of guys, very hard workers, and they've just been consistent. They've managed the boat well. They've had a very consistent regatta. Haven't taken stupid risks, and they've done a great job of managing the knife edge. They've pushed hard at the right times. They've backed off at the right times, and managed the whole thing very, very well. So a very deserved win by them. And I'd be interested to see if they come back. I think Ian might have ticked the box on this one. I'm not sure he'll be up for doing another one. He seems pretty happy with this. Well, Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing now claiming both the overall victory and the import trophy. A great end to 8 years hard campaigning for Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing team. A superb effort from Ian Walker and all his sailors. As Richard was sailing, he's amassed a great sailing team, built a strong combination, and then key, consistent results. A superb result, a superb end for this Volvo Ocean Race for Ian Walker. Let's take a look back at how that story has unfolded.
Get that sail going, fellas. Look us up for the hoist. Any problems with Dongfeng?
To get to this moment has been a lot of work, not just by me, but all of my team. And now really the baton's handed to the sailors. It's now our turn to do our job and do our job well.
It's going to be pretty full on if it's like this all the way around the world,
What doldrums, they're going to say? Sam's not even going to slow down. We've had a very, very fast and furious 36 hours. We've done a lot of miles, and the fleet's also been going very quick, so we're in for a very, very tight finish.
Oh, it feels good, it feels fantastic. We're so proud of my team, so proud of everybody on board, but everybody on the shore team as well. And to now be here and get such a fantastic welcome in Cape Town, it puts everything in perspective.
When we
went past there, we actually said how easy it would be to hit it at night.
Go!
Chase this cyclone fan in the tail end of it here. Try and elude the high pressure that's going to build behind. And if we can get around the front of the high, that means we can then reach down south. Racing is awesome. We've got Alvimedica just here. We're repping into the back of them. Very exciting. A wise man once told me, get a good start, get in front of everybody, and then cover. It's the easiest way to win a sailing race. You know, this is a chapter of my life. This has taken 8 years of work, you know, to get to here. That means I've spent most of those 8 years away from home, away from my kids, away from my wife, and you know, all of a sudden, all of that's worthwhile. And I can't wait to pick up the phone to my wife and kids, and I'm sure someone's going to burst into tears. If it's not them, it will be me.
Well, Ian Walker can celebrate now, holding both in-port and offshore trophies. Team Brunel finishes the Gothenburg River Race and comes into the race village here. A great result for them out on the water today. Sadly, not quite going their way on the in-port series. However, Bauer Becking knows he's finished this year's Volvo Ocean Race, claiming that final race win. Nice way to finish.
Oh, fantastic way to finish, and what a venue. Look at this, you know, they're sailing in past the race, but there's a big grandstand there giving everybody a wave. I mean, Gothenburg has really turned it on. Fantastic sailing nation, Sweden. Of course, it's the home of Volvo and essentially the Volvo Ocean Race. We've seen many Volvo Ocean racing campaigns come out of this country. So, yeah, really fantastic, and another brilliant spectacle out there today. I'm buzzing.
It'll be interesting to see how the sailors handle themselves ashore, because of course now it's all done. All these many miles, all these months, as Ian Walker was saying, away from your family, away from your friends, and now finally you can sit back, take it all in.
Yeah, well, the families are a huge part of this. You know, many of us have had our families grow and live in the Volvo Ocean Race, but requires a huge commitment from them to be a part of it. So now their boys are really done. You know, of course they would have loved to get stuck into it and celebrate a bit this week, but you know, now the gloves are off. It's all finished. They put the boat back on the dock. Big prize giving tonight, and I'm sure there'll be enormous amount of elation, celebration. The lid can come off the pressure cooker. You know, they try and come back down to earth over the next couple of weeks. Look at the crowd.
A great crowds here to welcome the boats back to the race village. And Canute, Team Brunel, that final race in this edition of the Volvo Ocean Race, going their way.
Yeah, they're just now crossing what we have an extra finish line here outside the race village, and look at all the crowds. I mean, it was just fantastic to see all the shorelines, you know, the whole river up to the Gothenburg city here, completely packed with people. So that makes my heart beat. That means that, you know, people in Gothenburg love this race. It's great to be back here, and you know, we used to call it race village. It's more like a race city, Gothenburg. It's huge, and look at Team Brunel here sailing all the way into the inside of the race village to celebrate their win today. So well-deserved win today by Team Brunel. They said a fantastic race, and it's great. It's all over. I'm happy.
Well, Canute, I mean, we talk a lot about the sailors finishing that race, but of course, you know, this is an end to sleepless nights for you. How are you feeling?
Well, it doesn't exactly feel like I've been on a 9 months holiday, to be honest. It doesn't exactly feel like that. So No, it's really. I mean, I always say it's really sad that you can cry that it's over, but you can smile because it happened. You know, like it's such an intense event to organize as well, and also an intense challenge because we work with 11 different countries and government to host the race. We have the sailors going through some of the most dramatic and extreme conditions in the world, and anything can happen, and things do happen. They did happen this time as well, and all of that ends up kind of on my table and my team's table, and we just have to deal with it, whether it's something in a stopover, whether it's a boat on a reef, or there is some other things happening, and that's kind of why you do it. You kind of you strive and you're hungry for all these challenges, but you kind of hate them, but you love them, you know, and overcoming them is such a good feeling. And I must say that seeing this now in Gothenburg really makes it worth all of it.
And what's been the biggest moment for you? What stands out when you look back at this edition?
Oh, you know, I think the race is kind of a photo album, you know, with fantastic moments, and you can almost, there's so many that you have to thank the OBRs for having all the footage so you can re-experience it. But I must say, one of the first things for me was really to see Dongfeng race team, how they excelled in the beginning, having known the story behind how they started with these Chinese sailors, and how Charlie and Charles and Pascal and all the guys in that boat managed to coach these sailors to become world class so quickly. I was completely blown away by that. Obviously the Vesta story was for me a huge, was the downer of the race, but also the upside, managing to work on that comeback. I think there's been many moments, you know, I think in the stopovers as well, seeing how people in Brazil were crazy about this race, you know, like it was the biggest party in the century there out on the docks, you know, waiting for the boats to arrive. Some hilarious moments. I will never ever forget our Danish friend on Team Vestas Wind who decided to jump onto the gate mark instead of completing the race with his boat, and he was kind of left on that mark. It's the most hilarious moment I can remember, I think, on the racetrack here. But and also some very sort of emotional moments, you know, when you realized how much it means to the sailors to stay together as a team. I think in particular the Dongfeng guys, also others, have really shown that, you know, this race is about passion. And I'm incredibly proud of not only the sailors, but really everyone on land, the guys who started the boatyard, you know, now servicing the whole fleet. It was a complete new idea. It has worked out really well, mostly through the people who were in it and how hard they worked and the attitude they had. I'm incredibly proud of my own team in the Volvo Ocean Race, who have organized that. 170 people are working day and night for making this race happen, and don't always get into the limelight and on the TV screens, but they are the ones who make the screens happen. And so thank you to all of you. Thank you.
Well, Knut, I mean, you talk about the boatyard, and of course, a very courageous decision this year, one design, and we've had the most intense, the tightest of finishes that I can ever remember in the Volvo Ocean Race. It's been superb. It's a huge relief for you. It's gone perfectly.
Well, I think it's been very close. We've always had some close finishes, but it has been a lot more of them. I mean, we have had 8 finishes where boats have been less than 5 minutes apart. You know, less than 5 minutes, you know, after racing across the ocean. In itself, it's not the most important, but for me, what is the most important is that everyone have a shot. If you're a good sailor, you should have a good shot at it. If you're a good team, you should have a good shot at it. And there's no doubt that with the One Design fleet, anyone who does a good job, has a good team together, get a good start, they will have a shot at winning. And also, another thing for me was to make the boat stronger, so they really had a very fair chance to always finish, because we had problems in the past where boats there was a benefit to making your boat lighter and lighter until it didn't make it, and you always were on that borderline. Now we have more margin into the boats, and that really makes a big difference.
And Knut, at what point do you start thinking about the task ahead of you to carry on and repeat this fantastic success?
Well, I think you know, my team is already deep into the next race. I mean, they're already negotiating with the ports for the next race. We're going to announce the route for the next race by the end of the year. We're already planning, you know, how to work on the boats. We are planning to build a few more boats to make the fleet bigger, but we want all these existing boats to race again. They're built for racing 2 races. We clearly have had experience that they're more than strong enough to do that, and they haven't had any significant problems. So we are deep into the next race already. You know, it's only 2 years and 4 months. It seems like an eternity, but in fact it comes very quickly to you.
And I know that everybody on the team has been working incredibly hard, and of course the race village here is going to remain open for the next couple of days, and people can come down and the boats will be open. They get a chance to step on board.
Exactly. I mean, that's something we're going to do tomorrow. We're going to open the boats for the public, and there will be guided tours on board. I expect long queues for someone to get the personal experience of being inside the real thing, you know, the boat that has actually just been around the world. And this was almost impossible to do in the past when we had the, all the secrecy and the customized boats. Now they're all the same, so they shouldn't have anything to hide really. And I think it's going to be interesting to see. I think we will have a lot of people queuing up. I met a little boy on the dock this morning and he asked me where the queue was. So I think someone is getting ready.
And we're just seeing now Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing making their way to the finish line just at the race village and then coming into dock. And of course you've been involved with the Volvo Ocean Race for a number of editions now. You've seen Ian Walker grow and grow. What differences have you seen him? What experiences has he picked up?
Can we go back further down, try and find Abu Dhabi?
Well, I think most of all he kind of made a decision from the get-going this race that I have to win it, and he was so focused from the moment the last race finished. And preparation is always a key thing, and I think he made a very good choice of having Neil McDonald as a coach. Neil is one of the most respected offshore sailors in the world, and having a very strong partner who was not going to be sailing with you, but being the outside eyes, being your extended arm sort of, is a very good move, I think. And no, I think what I see in Ian is maybe he's more mature. He's kind of been down in the ocean, done the mistakes, realized what really makes the biggest difference, what makes the win, and he was very focused from the beginning that consistency. And Ian has so much one design experience, and I think even though his one design experience is in much smaller boats, I think it's a big help, because even in the Olympic one design class, consistency is what matters. When everyone have the same pace pretty much, and you have to be on the podium as much as possible, not necessarily win, but just be consistently top 3, as Ian always said.
And let's look through the fleet here, because it looks like the profile of the sailors has changed as well. We've got younger sailors coming in, more French sailors coming in at the top of the fleet. Things have evolved.
Things have changed a lot. I think when I started in this job, there was one French sailor in the race. That was Sidney Gavinier, and now, as far as I know right now, France is the biggest country with the most sailors, which is not strange, because France is the number 1 offshore sailing country in the world. That's where they have the most offshore sailors, and I think it's more international now. When we look at Ian Walker, I think he has 5 or 6 nations now in his 8-man crew. I mean, most of them have 5, 6, 7 nations on board. Very international. It's really a people race where people focus about who you are as a person with your skills. They don't really care where you come from.
Well, Knut, if I could just give you one chance here, your final thought on this race. What's your last reflection on the action that we've seen?
Well, my last reflection is that I just want to thank everyone. Really, it's so many people who works to make this happen. Almost 4,000 volunteers have worked in all the stopovers around the world. Hundreds of people have worked in the stopover management, all the sponsors of the teams, all the managements of the teams, all the sailors, finally my own team, and not last but not least, Volvo Group and Volvo Car Group, who owns this race and who has the ambition and the vision to keep this 42-year-old history living in the very good health as it is.
Well, thank you very much, Knut, for all your input out in the water today, and in fact throughout the entire Volvo Ocean Race. We wish you all the best in planning for another repeat success for the next edition of the Volvo Ocean Race. Thank you. Well, Richard, a great day out in the water, and of course Ian Walker, now all he has to do, dock that boat, sit back and just enjoy himself.
Enjoy the ride. Yeah, I think the boys are all heading out to Abu Dhabi in the next couple of days to celebrate the various wins, and deservedly so. So I'm sure they're going to be in for a very good week.
And what do you predict here for Ian Walker? Because he's been hinting at, maybe I don't have to do it again now. I've done the big tick. But, maybe one more. Maybe I've got it in me. Do you think we're going to see him again?
I think you'll see him involved in the race in one way or another for sure. That's what he does. And we've seen winners come back. This is his business. I'm sure he will be taking a long and well-deserved rest after this. It's very stressful to be the man at the top. But you never say never.
How long do these emotions stay with you? Because I'm sure the smile on his face is just going to grow and grow.
Well, I think he'll be enjoying this one for quite some time to come. You know, it's a lifetime achievement. This race does change your life, and you know, every man on board that boat has earned it. Some of these guys have won the race twice. Justin Slattery's second win. He's done it on Avian Ambro. He knows how to get the job done. I'm sure we'll see most of these guys back in the race in 2 years' time.
Well, thank you very much, Richard. Thanks for all your help on the commentary today. There we can see the crew of Abu Dhabi Ocean Racing celebrating their double victory in this edition of the Volvo Ocean Race. Overall race winners and import race winners. A fairy tale end here for the team from the Emirates. There are only a few last seconds left on the countdown as the boat approach the start line and prepare to begin the Volvo Ocean Race.
Pan the camera and you see I've never seen so many boats in the water.
That's their last chance to wave their family, their friends and their crewmates still on the shore goodbye. 24 days until they see their family and friends again on boat. Just flying through the waves there.
Never quite started a race like this.
I think the only expectation is just to expect the unexpected.
I can't believe this. I can't actually believe this is happening. This is why they call it the Volvo Ocean Race. Get a load of this for fun.